come take a look at your baby. Okay, we finally get to see him. Chen Molin, stop right there. Tell me, whose kid is this? Why does he look like a damn flame king? Hubby, let's talk this out calmly. I really don't know what's going on. As you can see, that baby just now was me. Back in their college days, my parents were the recognized campus beauty and campus hunk. Logically speaking, their son should have grown up to be handsome, charming, and suave. But instead, I'm 2 meters tall, and I look absolutely terrifying. I don't look like a good guy at all. All of this is because I activated a Macho Man system. As long as I complete the system's quests, I get corresponding rewards. The reward is coming. So warm. Totally worth it. At first, I was thrilled, but soon, I started getting depressed. Because the system's rewards were always muscle enhancements. This caused my sheer size. Even though I only look a little bit bulky, to have a terrifyingly high muscle density. No way. So many plates. Too light. Stop joking around. When it comes to fighting, I don't even need to lift a finger. I just need to punch the wall next to me, and I can scare off everyone on the other side. But the downside is, I don't have a single friend. That guy looks so scary. Let's walk the other way. Don't go near him. As for dating, that's a complete pipe dream. When girls see me, they avoid me like I'm some kind of demon lord. Right now, I'm on my way to register for college, but even in this packed subway car, my section is completely empty. And that's all because I'm standing here. No one dares to come close. A height of 2 meters, combined with muscles that are about to burst out of the largest size clothes, and biceps thicker than a woman's waist, along with massive forearms. Top it off with my friendly face. Anyone who gets near me will tremble from just one gentle look from me. But in reality, I just turned 18. Deep down, I'm still just a little boy. Right now, in my train car, a cute little girl just stared at me for a few seconds, and her mother immediately pulled her behind her back. Oh, my little ancestor, you actually dare to look? Aren't you afraid that uncle will snatch you up and eat you in one bite? Hearing this, I let out a bitter smile. Though I felt a bit helpless inside, I didn't say anything, because I've heard this kind of talk, so much that my ears are getting calluses. Who can I blame for not looking like a good guy? Just then, my phone beeped. I opened it and saw a message from an online friend I nicknamed Sissy Young Master. It read, Macho Man, what time are you getting to the university today? I'm on subway line 2. Just 5 more stops until we reach the school. What? Subway line 2? And 5 stops left? Looking at this baffling message, I was a bit confused. This netizen called Sissy Young Master was someone I met while playing games in the past. Even though we both sucked at the game, neither of us would admit defeat. After trashing each other a few times with no clear winner, we eventually bonded over our fights. One thing led to another, and we became online friends. So, for the past 5 years, he's been my best and only friend. However, we've never met in person. We haven't even exchanged photos. But I figured we're both guys. As long as we vibe, it's all good. And the reason I gave him that nickname was because I thought he sounded way too girly. Just as I was about to ask why he sounded so surprised, the system notification chimed. Host, please note, in car number 3, a young girl is about to be upskirted by an old pervert. Please proceed to stop him immediately. Mission reward, 10,000 bucks. Hearing this, I was so moved I almost shed macho tears. 10 years. It's been a whole 10 years. The system finally gave a cash reward, instead of just giving me more muscles. Then, I excitedly made my way toward car number 3. As I walked by, the crowd automatically parted, too scared to get close. They instantly cleared a wide path for me. Meanwhile, in car number 3, Chen Molin was looking at her phone, her small face slightly flushed, and her heart beating a little faster. She hadn't expected that Macho Man would actually be on this very subway. If they bumped into each other at the school gates, what should she do? She wasn't ready to meet him yet. Then, Chen Molin recalled how over the past 5 years, Macho Man had always been there for her. Even though it was only online, he had truly helped her a lot, especially during the most stressful times in high school. If it weren't for Macho Man, nagging, comforting, and encouraging her, who knows if she would have even gotten into Ningbei University. On second thought, seeing that Macho Man was about to become her junior, Chen Molin was still pretty happy. So, Chen Molin typed a message on her phone. Junior, hurry up and get to school. Your senior will cover for you. Hehe. However, just as she finished typing and was about to hit send, she suddenly felt a deeply disgusting presence. She noticed that right behind her, a creepy-looking middle-aged man was staring at her with malicious eyes, constantly scanning her legs. At first, Chen Molin thought about just enduring it, but this creep's phone was subtly pointed right at her legs. Chen Molin's intuition told her that this guy was definitely secretly filming her, and from a really invasive angle too. However, Chen Molin had never encountered a situation like this before. She had no idea how to deal with a pervert like him. Meanwhile, the creep beside her realized that he might have been spotted, but instead of panicking, a wicked smirk appeared on his face. He even took a step closer to Chen Molin, but just as he was about to aim his camera at a more private area, a deep voice slowly echoed from behind him. Filming girls in secret. You've lived this long, just to act like a damn animal? The creep's face instantly changed. Then, with lightning speed, he locked his phone screen and smoothly shoved it into his pocket. His movements were incredibly fluid. He was undoubtedly a repeat offender. The creep immediately started defending himself without even turning around, telling me not to make false accusations without proof. He was experienced at getting caught, Even if someone demanded his phone, he wouldn't panic because he had a second phone hidden in his pocket. Just as he was about to pull off this bait and switch trick, the next moment, he went flying. I picked him up like a little baby chick. Taking advantage of the train stopping at the station, I tossed him right out of the car. The creep crashed onto the platform floor, grimacing in pain. He was just about to get up and curse, but when he got a clear look at me, he instantly felt like he couldn't breathe. He started trembling uncontrollably, his eyes filled with absolute terror, because the man standing before him was 2 meters tall, with a ferocious glare, and a twisted, menacing face. The next second, the creep instinctively started begging for mercy. He was terrified out of his mind. He thought some hitman had mistaken him for a target and was here to silence him. Then, he suddenly shivered and actually passed out from sheer fright right on the spot. The scene instantly fell dead silent. Every passenger stared at me in terror, and right then, a voice as quiet as a mosquito piped up from behind me. Thank you. Are you hurt? As for me, I had just dealt with a creep who was secretly taking pictures of a girl. Just as I was about to leave, I was stopped by 2 subway security guards. They froze on the spot the moment they saw my massive build. They instinctively assumed that this fierce, hulking brute was bullying that middle-aged man, but they didn't dare make a move on me either. Just as I was about to open my mouth to explain, a girl stepped in front of me, blocking their way. Don't misunderstand. That creep was secretly taking pictures of me on the subway. Then this big guy stepped up and helped me out, and threw him off the train. It was Chen Mullen. She had hesitated for several seconds, before mustering up the courage to stand in front of a human monster like me, shielding me from the suspicious glares of everyone else. It was a strange feeling, because this was the first time someone had ever stood up for me. Then, while Chen Mullen was busy explaining the situation to the security guards, I turned around and quietly slipped away. By the time Chen Mullen snapped back to reality, she realized I was already gone. She had finally worked up the nerve to give me a proper thank you. But she never expected this giant bear of a man to just walk off on his own. Later, when I arrived at the gates of Ningbei University, a lot of upperclassmen were there welcoming the freshmen, especially the handsome and sweet-looking underclassmen, who were exceptionally popular. But the moment I stepped through the campus gates, the entire place went dead silent. Everyone's eyes revealed looks of absolute terror. The 2 security guards at the gate also noticed something was off. Following the crowd's gaze, they instantly shuddered. What do we do? What else can we do? Hurry up and grab your weapons. Faced with the pressure of losing their jobs, the 2 guards could only brace themselves and walk over. They loudly warned me that this was a university, and outsiders weren't allowed to just wander in. I glanced at the 2 of them, noticing that despite their fierce expressions, their legs were constantly shaking. I shook my head helplessly. This kind of misunderstanding was something I was already used to, so I spoke up, stating that I was a student here. But the 2 guards didn't believe me at all. They bluntly said I looked like a violent fugitive on the run, and if they let a thug like me onto the campus, a massacre would probably happen. Hearing this, I didn't waste any breath. I just pulled out my admission letter. The 2 guards were dumbfounded after reading it. Now they had no choice but to believe that this macho muscle man in front of them was only 18 and was actually a freshman at Ningbei University. The 2 of them apologized and let me go, but I hadn't walked far before I stopped in my tracks because I forgot to ask where the freshman registration was. I was just about to turn around and ask the guards, but they instantly sprinted back into the guardhouse and hid. They didn't even dare make eye contact with me. Right at that moment, a panting, beautiful figure ran up from behind. Why did you walk so fast? I couldn't even catch up to you. Before I could say anything, her gaze landed squarely on the admission letter in my hand. She paused for a moment, then formally said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Chen Mulin, a sophomore at Ningbei University. Thank you so much for stepping in on the subway today. So, let me show you the way to freshman registration." I was stunned when I heard that. I didn't expect this senior's name to be exactly the same as my mother's, but I kept my thoughts to myself and agreed to let her guide me. On the way to the freshman registration area, I looked at the girl in front of me, feeling a bit surprised. You have to understand, most people who see me once rarely take the initiative to get close to me again. Yet this girl wasn't afraid of me at all. Along the way, quite a few people recognized this campus beauty Chen and wanted to say hi to her, but then they suddenly noticed that beside the campus beauty was a massive guy who looked like a grizzly bear, so they quickly dropped the idea. After all, they were just college students. Where would they have ever seen someone with a terrifying aura like mine? When we arrived at the freshman registration entrance, Chen Mullen told me that a teacher inside would take care of me. I nodded. Then Chen Mullen said sincerely, "Thank you. If you hadn't stepped up today, I'm afraid in a few days, some disgusting videos would have ended up online." Even though she was out of danger now, just thinking about what happened sent a shiver of lingering fear down her spine. She had heard of several incidents like this. In the end, those girls either fell into depression or dropped out entirely and moved to another city. Then, Chen Mullen seemed to remember something. She spoke up. "Lu Ran, let me borrow your phone for a sec." During our conversation on the way here, she had already learned my name. I didn't think much of it and handed my phone over. Chen Mullen took the phone, dialed a number, and handed it back. That was my phone number. It's also my social media account. If there's anything you don't understand at school, you can ask me anytime. That was my phone number. It's also my social media account. If there's anything you don't understand at school, you can ask me anytime. I nodded at this. I agreed on the surface, but didn't think much of it inside. I never liked bothering other people. Then, I walked into the freshman registration office. Chen Mullen blinked her pretty eyes, feeling a bit weird. It had been a long time since a guy had ignored her like this. This big bear really was built different. Then she shook her head and turned to walk toward the girls' dorms. After I finished my freshman enrollment, I arrived at my two-person dorm room. I was the second one to arrive. When my roommate saw my face, he was instantly startled, not even daring to breathe too loudly. Right at that moment, the phone in my pocket suddenly buzzed. Macho man. Do you think those huge muscular guys just aren't interested in women? Seeing this, I immediately replied, if muscle men don't like women, do they like men? Inside the girls' dorm, Chen Molin was sitting in her chair, comfortably playing on her phone. Seeing the reply, she rolled her eyes. This guy is definitely answering like that on purpose. That's not what I meant. If you were standing in front of me right now, I'd definitely beat you up. Calm down. Honestly, I could give you a two-hand handicap and you still couldn't beat me. I'm remembering that. I just screenshotted it. By the way, today is your first day on campus. What do you think of Ningbei University? It's not bad. And there's one thing you probably wouldn't expect. I ran into the campus beauty of Ningbei University. Not only did she show me the way and introduce me to the campus, she even gave me her phone number. In an instant, with a loud clatter, Chen Molin's phone went into freefall and smashed onto the floor. She froze as if time had stopped. Her face was full of disbelief. After a long while, she finally picked up her phone. Her heart was racing, and her small face was flushed red. He just said he met the campus beauty, who showed him around the university and gave him her phone number. Wasn't that exactly what she had just done? At this moment, in Chen Molin's mind, the big bear she met today and the macho man online friend she had crushed on for 5 years slowly merged into one. Holy crap, what a coincidence. The usually elegant Chen Molin couldn't help but swear. After sorting out her thoughts, she arrived at one truth. The stranger who saved her on the subway was highly likely the super macho guy she had known online for years. She had always thought he was just bragging about being 2 meters tall and being able to punch out a cow bare-handed. Now she realized he really wasn't lying. Then, Chen Molin steadied her excitedly trembling hands and quickly typed a message with a wicked smirk. Really? The campus beauty? Our campus beauty is super aloof. Why would she even talk to you? Believe it or not. Anyway, I've already been exposed on the school forum. I'm probably about to go viral. What school forum? Chen Molin hurriedly opened the website, only to find a post titled, The Campus Beauty and the Beast. It was already the #1 trending topic. Looking at the photos, Chen Molin couldn't help but smile. Macho Man's goofy expression is way too cute. This one is actually pretty good. Turns out, aside from looking a bit fierce, Macho Man is actually quite handsome. Just then, my message came through again. See? I wasn't lying to you, right? Were you scared by my physique? By that? You're overthinking it. How could that possibly scare me? If we ever met up in person, I bet I wouldn't be the one getting scared. But a minute after she sent the message, there was still no reply from the other side. Just as Chen Molin was wondering if she should send another one. Did the cops come? Being despised actually feels pretty good. Sissy, you're my bro for life. If you ever run into any trouble, just tell me. I guarantee no one will be able to bully you. Chen Molin was a bit surprised when she saw this message. The impression I gave her online was of an optimistic and cheerful guy, knowledgeable, and well-versed in many things. He was always considerate of others. But now, she felt like I barely had any friends. I did everything alone. It was probably because my macho physique was just too terrifying. Then she curiously asked a question. By the way, Macho Man, is the campus beauty pretty? Is she your type? After sending this message, Chen Molin's small face instantly turned red. When she heard the message notification, she didn't check it right away. Instead, she took a deep breath and hyped herself up before finally looking at it. This campus beauty has skinny arms and legs. She's way too frail. Only her looks are passable. So infuriating. Blue ran. You big bear. You big blind bat. What do you mean only her looks are passable? I have a perfect height of 1.78 meters and weigh 96 pounds. Look at my tiny waist. Look at my long legs. I'm clearly goddess tier. Then she thought of something else and looked down at her chest. These aren't small either, so this big bear must definitely be blind. Just as Chen Molin was puffing her cheeks in anger, I sent another message. For girls, being a little chubby is the absolute best. YYDS. Gotta go. My roommate actually invited me to play some games. We're going to grab BBQ at the school gate tonight. Seeing this message, Chen Molin was so mad she wanted to bite someone, but she had no way to fight back, who told her not to confess her identity yet. Just then, Chen Molin's roommate happened to come back. Oh my, what's wrong with our great campus beauty? Why do you look so out of it? I'm fine, don't worry. By the way, why did you help that guy find his way at noon? I really admire your courage. If it were me, I wouldn't even dare go near that guy. But Chen Molin seemed to remember something you said, her eyes suddenly lighting up. Bestie, are you free to grab dinner with me tonight? Huh? Later that night, you took your roommate out for barbecue. On the way, you guys became the most eye-catching guys on the street, turning heads the entire way. But all those stares were entirely because of your looks. The pedestrians' eyes were mostly filled with sheer terror. By the time you arrived at the barbecue joint, you were instantly dumbfounded, because outside this restaurant, a line had already started to form. Kihao said in frustration, "Damn, we messed up. Business here is way too good, isn't it? We should have come out earlier. Should we just eat somewhere else?" Hearing our conversation, an upperclassman in front of us turned around to give some advice, saying we obviously look like freshmen. This barbecue place is the best one around here. At this hour, it's probably best to find another spot. But halfway through his sentence, he abruptly stopped and then bolted away as fast as his legs could carry him, simply because, after getting a clear look at your face, he imagined something terrible. And because of this commotion, the people ahead turned around to look and quickly scrambled away as well, leaving behind only my dumbstruck roommate and a speechless me. Later, after we found a spot and sat down, a figure walked over. "Hello there. Can my roommate and I share a table with you guys? There are no empty seats left." My roommate Kihao took one look and was instantly shocked. It was actually the campus belle, Chen Molin, and she actually dared to ask to share a table with us. Did she not see the humanoid beast sitting right here? Seeing that we didn't react, Chen Molin spoke up again. "Hi there, Junior Liu. We meet again." Before I could even agree, she unceremoniously brought her roommate over and sat right down. But judging from her roommate's expression, she was actually completely unwilling. At this moment, seeing the two of us dumbfounded and speechless, Chen Molin asked, "What's wrong? Are we not welcome?" "Welcome. Of course you're welcome. Being able to eat with such beautiful seniors is our honor." And just like that, you had your first college dinner gathering. Although the atmosphere was a bit weird at first, with only Chen Molin making casual small talk with you, eventually perhaps because the senior realized you weren't as terrifying as you looked on the outside, everyone started chatting happily. After a while, Chen Molin suddenly asked, "What kind of girls do you guys like? Care to share?" Hearing this, Kehao immediately stated that girls like the two seniors were the ideal type in every guy's heart. "If we could find girlfriends like you seniors during our college years, that would be an absolute blessing from our ancestors." Then, Chen Molin turned to look at me and asked, "What about you, Junior Liu?" At that moment, I had a skewer of meat in my left hand and another in my right, devouring them non-stop. Hearing her question, I froze for 2 seconds. Why was she asking me this? With my fierce, menacing look, it's a miracle if girls aren't terrified of me. What's the point of talking about who I like? So I brush her off, saying that I felt the same way. After saying that, I went right back to eating. The others heard my response and didn't think much of it. But Chen Molin secretly shot me a hard glare. Too bad I was too busy stuffing my face with skewers to even notice. Right at that moment, the system's quest notification suddenly rang in my mind. System has detected a new quest. Turn over a new leaf. Please, subdue the troublemaking street thugs and arrange a job opportunity for them. Upon completion, the host will receive 300,000 in business startup funds. Hearing this, I quickly looked around, but didn't spot anything. Everyone here was just eating at the barbecue joint. Where were these street thugs? Just then, a customer pointed at the entrance and said, "Look, something's happening outside." I saw the boss run out there. Hearing that, I told the others to keep eating and that I was stepping out for a bit. Then, I headed outside. Outside the barbecue restaurant, 3 clearly malicious street thugs were causing a scene. The leader, a thug calling himself Brother Yu, sneered and claimed that he had found 2 cockroaches in his food last time, demanding compensation from the boss. The boss was completely helpless. It wasn't like he couldn't tell they were extorting him. If it were anyone else, he would have just called the cops. But this Brother Yu seemed to have some connections. The last time he called the police, nothing came of it. Calling them again probably wouldn't do any good and might even make these guys retaliate worse. So he could only swallow his bad luck. Don't worry. In this area, my word carries some weight. I guarantee no one will dare mess with you around here anymore. But before Brother Yu could finish his sentence, a massive figure slowly walked toward him. When Brother Yu saw my silhouette, he was instantly terrified out of his wits. This kind of aura. Was he for real? "You said you found 2 cockroaches in his food? Are you sure about that?" Brother Yu's eyes darted around erratically, too scared to answer, but I just let out a cold snort. I knew how to make him tell the truth. "I was wrong, boss. I admit it. We put the cockroaches there ourselves." "Boss, please don't kill me, big guy. He's telling the truth. We just had a moment of stupidity. We'll figure out a way to pay the money back right now. We'll never dare do it again. Get lost. You've already spent all the money, so you're going to work at the boss's shop to pay off your debt. From now on, you're my underlings. We're willing to work. We'll definitely work hard." What a good guy. There really are good people in this world. Quest completed. Distributing rewards. My phone buzzed. It was a bank deposit notification. Exactly as promised, a full 300,000. I nodded in satisfaction. Even though this 300,000 could only be used for business, it was still pretty damn good. Then I sent a text to my roommate. "You guys go ahead and eat. I already paid the bill. Something came up, so I'm heading out first." Just now, when I was paying, I caught a glimpse of my roommate inside, chatting happily with the seniors. Going back might just interrupt them. Besides, I'm fine on my own. I'm used to it. Might as well just take a walk by myself and check out the area around the university. But before I could get very far, a graceful silhouette stepped up beside me. "Junior Liu, why aren't you going back to eat?" "Senior, why did you come out here?" I was surprised. "I saw that the skewers were all served, so I came out to get you." Chen Molin casually made up a lie. Hearing that, I replied, "I suddenly don't feel like having barbecue anymore. I want to get some noodles. You go on back. Don't worry about me." I didn't explain much further, but Chen Molin completely flipped the script. "Perfect. I want some too. Let's go." I was a bit confused. I didn't know why, but I kept feeling like this beautiful campus belle I met today was acting a little strange. Deep down, she gave me a sense of familiarity. My instinct was to refuse, but in the end, I agreed without hesitation. 10 minutes later, we arrived at a noodle shop. The place wasn't big, and since it was past mealtime, there weren't many customers. Chen Molin found an empty seat and sat down with me. I looked at her weirdly. We had clearly only known each other for a day, but it somehow felt like this senior and I had known each other for a long time. After slurping down my noodles, I pulled out my phone. I thought for a moment, then opened my chat with Sissy Young Master. Sissy, you busy? At the same time, Chen Molin felt her pocket vibrate. Seeing me playing on my phone after finishing my noodles, she seemed to realize something. She quietly took out her phone. Sure enough, it was a message from me. Didn't you always say you understand girls? Let me ask you something. If two people have only known each other for a day, and the girl treats the guy to a meal, and keeps stealing glances at him while they eat, what's the deal with this girl? When Chen Molin saw this message, the hand holding her phone couldn't help but tremble. A blush instantly crept across her face. How were this jerk's eyes so sharp? She had only sneaked a few glances and got caught. But the problem was, how should she reply now? After thinking for a solid 10 seconds, Chen Molin finally replied, if that's the case, then this girl must definitely like the guy, or she wants to pursue him. As Chen Molin sent this message, her heart was pounding like a deer in headlights. She still couldn't resist sneaking a peek at me, wanting to see how I'd react when I got it. As a result, I just gave a disdainful smirk and started typing again. Do you think you're reading a novel? Love at first sight? A sissy's logic is just too sissy. Your answer is definitely wrong, don't you think? It's more likely that the girl is plotting something against the guy. Huh? This giant bear's logic. Why was it so abnormal? What could this lady possibly plot against you? Plot for your fierce, menacing face, or plot for your bear-like physique? Unbelievable. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't blow her cover right now, she really wanted to feed me a few punches. Suppressing her anger, Chen Molin furiously tapped on her phone. I am a relationship expert. I am a relationship expert. Anyway, I've already given you the right answer. Believe it or not, if you can be a relationship expert, then I could be a relationship doctor. Seeing my reply, Chen Molin gritted her teeth in anger. It wasn't until 20 minutes later that we finally walked out of the noodle shop. Chen Molin walked in front, head down, marching briskly toward the campus, while I followed unhurriedly behind her, keeping a distance of about half a meter. There was no communication along the way, only the sound of our footsteps. At this point, Chen Molin was furious. She decided she wouldn't talk to him for a month, no, half a month. Forget it, make it a week. She wouldn't talk to this giant bear for a week, both in real life and online. Chen Molin was lost in her wild thoughts. Meanwhile, behind her, my mind had long moved past what just happened. Right now, I was busy planning out my next 4 years of college life. With the system, and such a great physique, I definitely had to live these 4 years to the fullest. Perhaps hearing my inner call, the next moment, the system's notification chime rang out again. Quest refreshed. Lend a helping hand. At a residential complex 300 meters ahead, a child is about to fall from the 6th floor. Please do your best to rescue them. Reward upon completion. 10 bitcoins. Seeing the quest details, I couldn't help but curl my lip. What the hell is a bitcoin? Dangerous take? But before I could figure it out, I heard several voices shouting from a distance. Save the child. Oh my god, someone save that kid. I looked up and saw that at an apartment building not far away, a little boy was standing on a 6th floor AC unit. One look and you could tell he was probably playing by the window and accidentally fell out. Beside me, Chen Molin watched the scene, her face instantly filled with extreme worry. Just as she was about to turn and ask me what to do, she realized I was already sprinting toward that building, at full speed. The crowd gathered below the building, got a clear look at me running over, and were all startled. This ferocious, massive figure charging at them made them feel like the very earth was shaking. Once I reached the bottom of the building, I pushed off the ground hard with my right foot, and instantly launched myself into the air. Then, I spread my arms and grabbed directly onto the edge of the 3rd floor balcony. The onlookers were instantly dumbfounded. An unbelievable thought popped into their minds. This is way too insane. My god, this kind of physical strength, this kind of explosive power. He's definitely not a normal person. The bystanders were absolutely shocked, but the most shocked of all was definitely Chen Molin. Was this really the super macho man she chatted with every day? In the past, Macho Man often logged off using the excuse that he had to go save someone. Could it be that everything he said was true? Then, Chen Molin suddenly shouted loudly for me to be careful and that she would wait for me at the bottom. But after shouting, Chen Molin also knew that I probably couldn't hear her at all. Meanwhile, I flexed my arms with explosive force and launched myself upward again, my hands grabbing onto a foothold, right next to the 6th floor AC unit. Once I stabilized my body, I reached out, pulled the little boy over, and held him tight against me. Fierce applause instantly erupted from below. However, before the crowd below could even finish praising me, several screams rang out from the crowd. Chen Molin was so terrified she squeezed her eyes shut, because at that moment, perhaps due to the aging walls of the building, the foothold completely broke off under my grip, which meant the two of us were about to fall. Many kids and women didn't even dare to look anymore. At a time like this, no one noticed that there wasn't a single trace of panic in my eyes. A few seconds later, with a massive times bang, I landed flat on my back, smashing right into a Mercedes-Benz. Seeing this, Chen Molin instantly revealed a look of utter despair. But the very next second, everyone turned pale with shock, because as the dust settled, that 2-meter-tall figure holding the little boy walked right out. Then, I calmly stated that the kid should be fine, and that I was leaving. Saying that, I grabbed Chen Molin who was still in a state of shock, and bolted out of there with lightning speed. By the time the crowd reacted, my silhouette had long disappeared. Later, holding Chen Molin's hand, I ran for several hundred meters. It wasn't until Chen Molin's breathing became heavy and rapid that I finally stopped. She asked in confusion, "Why are you running? We did a good deed. Why are we acting like thieves?" But I pointed out, the person is saved. But who's going to pay for the property damage? Still feeling uneasy, I continued pulling Chen Molin toward the campus. Although Chen Molin didn't understand what was going through my head, her gaze quickly locked onto that giant paw holding her small hand. Not gonna lie, Macho Man's hand was so warm. If she were held like this in the winter, it would definitely be warmer than a hand warmer. After walking a long way further, I finally explained to Chen Molin, I broke at least 3 AC units, and that Mercedes I smashed into? That thing cost at least $1 million to drive off the lot. The repair costs alone would be enough to kill me. So if we didn't run, we'd just be waiting to pay up. But we were saving someone. You're still too young. Once you experience the dark side of society, you'll understand. Oh, like you know so much. You're a year younger than me. Then, she caringly asked if I needed to go to the hospital to get checked out. After all, falling from such a high place, I might look fine on the outside, but my internal organs or bones could be injured. But I calmly stated that I was fine. After all, I've experienced things far more dangerous than this. Chen Molin shot me a glance, her small mouth quietly muttering braggart. She couldn't possibly imagine what could be more dangerous than falling from the 6th floor. I smiled and didn't explain any further. 10 or so minutes later, we walked back to campus together. Chen Molin reluctantly said goodbye, telling me to go back and get some good rest, and that if I felt unwell, she would go to the hospital with me. Hearing that, I waved my hand, then turned around and left, without the slightest hint of lingering attachment. This made Chen Molin's tsundere emotions flare up again. Stupid bear. Don't normal guys usually walk girls all the way to their dorm building? Before leaving, was she really that lacking in charm? She was the campus belle, for crying out loud. Would it kill him to stick around a little longer? Then, as Chen Molin walked toward the girls' dorms, she pulled out her phone and sent a message. Macho Man, did anything interesting happen at your dinner gathering tonight? Funny you should ask. There actually was. I saved a little boy today. If I told you what happened, you definitely wouldn't believe it. Tell me, I'll believe it. Sissy, did you take the raw meds today? Later, after I got back to my dorm, my roommate, K-Hao, was still up all night playing games. When he saw me, he quickly asked, Brother Lou, you left right when the barbecue was served, and then the school beauty followed you out right after. Don't tell me you two were together. I casually replied, yeah. I even held the school beauty's little hand the whole way. But my roommate, hearing my nonchalant tone, K-Hao, immediately looked completely dismissive. You've got to be kidding me. I might believe you if you said you went out with the school beauty, but holding her hand the whole way. No way. K-Hao paused and added, Brother Lou, you haven't even been at this school for a full day. You have no idea. That school beauty, Chen, is Ningbei University's most beautiful and aloof goddess. Just in this past year alone, she's rejected countless suitors. I felt a bit puzzled hearing that. Aloof? That word didn't suit Chen Molin at all. But I couldn't be bothered to overthink it, because after the system upgrade, my goal was to make more money. As for a girlfriend, that would only slow down my money-making speed. Besides, with my build and looks, I doubt anyone would even like a guy like me anyway. I then turned on my computer, typed in a URL, and looked at a specific stat on the screen. Bitcoin balance, 10 coins. This was the reward for tonight's mission, 10 bitcoins, but I didn't have time to deal with them right now, because military training was starting tomorrow. Once military training was over, it wouldn't be too late to figure out the rest. Early the next morning, all the university freshmen gathered on the school's sports field. On the podium, several school officials spouted nonsense for a solid 20 minutes, before finally wrapping it up. They then announced the first military training task, a hiking drill. Our training location wasn't at Ningbei University, but heading south from the campus, about 15 kilometers away. There was a military camp there. For the next 2 weeks, a total of 14 days, the freshmen would be staying there. As for right now, their task was to hike the 15 kilometers to reach the camp. As soon as this was announced, the crowd erupted into a noisy uproar. My roommate K-Hao immediately started complaining. Brother Lou, is the school administration out of their minds, starting military training with this kind of torture? How are we going to survive the rest of it? But I didn't think much of it. 15 kilometers? The system usually handed out daily running quests with a 20-kilometer minimum. I was already used to it. 3 minutes later, all the freshmen were forced to get ready. We set off for the camp together, organized by class. A long, winding line marched out of Ningbei University. There were military support staff on both sides of the formation. Along the 15-kilometer route, several temporary medical stations had been set up. Instructors walked alongside each class, supervising and urging everyone forward. For the first half hour, the main group's pace was decent, but after an hour of walking, it was obvious that some freshmen couldn't hold on anymore. Most young people nowadays were spoiled and pampered, or just stayed cooped up at home. This amount of exercise was an absolute nightmare for them. Right at that moment, the system's voice chimed in my head. Mission updated. Help people suffering from heat stroke move to the temporary medical stations. Reward. For every target assisted, you will be rewarded with 10,000 yuan. No upper limit. Seeing the system's mission, my eyes instantly lit up. 10,000 yuan for helping just one person? If I helped 100 people, Wouldn't that be a cool 1 million in cash? Just then, a gasp rang out from the front. Someone fainted. Quick! Someone come check on her. I looked up and saw a girl at the front of the class collapse on the ground. The freshmen around her were startled, flustering about, not knowing what to do. The next second, a massive figure, seemingly out of nowhere, appeared right in front of the heat-struck girl. Seeing this huge silhouette, the surrounding students felt the hair on their bodies stand on end. Everyone recognized me instantly. I didn't waste any words. I scooped the girl up and quickly dashed off. Once we arrived at the temporary medical station, I placed her on a cot. Seeing this, the medic suggested I take a break too, and take some heat-stroke medicine, but I waved my hand, indicating I didn't need it. Then I left without looking back. By the time we finally reached the military camp, I did the math. I had carried over 20 people today, over 200,000 yuan in rewards, just like that. But just as I was basking in my joy, a beautiful figure appeared not far away. It was Chen Molan. She was holding a cup of iced milk tea. She walked right up to me. I froze for a second, wondering what this grand school beauty was up to now. Seeing me, Chen Molan smiled and said, "Junior Liu, I heard that along the way. You saved quite a few female students from heat stroke. You've worked hard, so I hope you'll accept this token of my appreciation." What I found really weird was that, when Chen Molan said saved and female students, she deliberately emphasized those words. I originally wanted to refuse, but there were so many eyes staring at us from the shadows, so I had no choice but to bite the bullet and take the milk tea. But then, Chen Molan blinked her eyes and said, "Can you drink it all right now? I want to watch you finish it before I leave. After all, it's my special treat." I figured I was thirsty anyway, so I didn't refuse. I took a huge gulp and swallowed it down. But the very next second, my eyes bulged wide open. A violent shudder ran through my entire body. Sour, so sour. It was unbelievably sour. Was this milk tea? Wasn't this just pure lemon juice? Chen Molan, trying hard to hold back her laughter, asked, "What's wrong? Junior Liu, don't you like lemon milk tea?" I questioned her in confusion. "Isn't this a bit too sour?" But Chen Molan just smiled and said, "Maybe I forgot to add sugar." Then she said she had things to do, turned around, and left, leaving me standing there with a dumbfounded look on my face. That night, when I returned to my tent to rest, I opened my phone. I quickly discovered that my rescuing people today and getting milk tea from the school beauty had trended on the school forum again. Then a message from Sissy Prince popped up. "Macho man, you're amazing. I saw your glorious deeds on the front page. So, were you blown away by my handsome looks and heroic actions?" "Impressed. Super impressed. So, how did it feel to carry all those girls? And so many of them at once, too." Honestly, I was just so focused on helping people. I didn't have time to think about any of that nonsense. Looking back on it now, I can't even remember how many guys or girls I carried. Reading this, Chen Molan completely froze. She realized she might have overthought things. She had misunderstood the big bear. But then she replied, "I heard. The school beauty went over and gave you milk tea. It didn't look like it tasted very good. Holy crap, news travels fast with you. Don't even mention it. I was almost soured to death by that girl. How was that milk tea? It was literally super concentrated lemon juice. Just thinking about it makes my tongue twitch. Sissy, let me tell you, I think the school beauty is targeting me." Looking at the barrage of messages I sent, Chen Molan burst out laughing. Then she replied with 2 words, "Serves you right." And when I saw the message, I felt even more confused. The next day, the group arrived at an opera house to hold the freshman welcome party. Many of the freshmen went up to show off their talents. As the school beauty, Chen Molan naturally wouldn't miss out. When she took the stage, the boys in the audience erupted into cheers, eagerly anticipating her performance. But I suddenly noticed that the corner of Chen Molan's mouth curled into a barely noticeable, mischievous smirk. Then, Chen Molan paused and suddenly said, "Next, I'd like to invite a student from the audience to join me. I will play the instrument, and he will sing. I wonder if anyone would like to come up?" Many guys in the audience immediately threw their hands up, all dying to get on stage and perform alongside the school beauty. Looking at the enthusiastic crowd, Chen Molan's gaze ultimately landed on one specific spot. Then she slowly spoke. "That tallest, most muscular junior in the crowd, would you do me the honor of performing with me?" That tallest, most muscular junior in the crowd. Would you do me the honor of performing with me? I was instantly stunned. The entire audience's eyes snapped toward me. Feeling shy, I was about to refuse, but the system's voice suddenly chimed in. "Mission issued. Universal appeal. Host must sing a song that amazes 80% of the live audience upon completion. Reward. Stock market trend intel for the next 7 days." Hearing this, I suddenly felt like the savings I had on hand finally had a place to be put to good use. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, I walked up onto the stage. I then proposed to Chen Molan that I planned to sing a very niche song. She just needed to play the violin to accompany me and leave the rest to me. Chen Molan looked surprised, but before she could ask anything, I was already sitting on the piano bench. Then, a beautiful melody slowly began to play. "As it comes tonight. When the wind blows outside, I'll leave right away." After the performance ended, Chen Molan was stunned. The audience was stunned too. They never expected that a fierce-looking brute like me actually had such a unique side to him. A few seconds later, Chen Molan took the lead and started clapping. The students, snapping back to reality, followed suit with thunderous applause. I just scratched my head, looking incredibly embarrassed. That night, as soon as I got back to the tent to rest, Sissy Prince's message popped up. "Yo, Macho Man, you're on the school forum again. How come you never mentioned you knew how to sing that? Heh. From now on, please call me the treasure Macho Man. There are way too many things I know how to do. I'm just usually too low-key and lazy to brag about it. Where's your shame? I compliment you once and it goes straight to your head. Huh. By the way, want to meet up in a few days? I'll treat you to a good meal. The reason I sent this invitation was because we had known each other online for 5 years. Now that we were so close, it felt wrong not to meet up. But about a minute passed, and the other side didn't reply. This made me feel a bit weird. Just then, my phone buzzed. I quickly opened it to check. I just went to the bathroom. Of course we can meet up. I'll probably be back at the university next month. Something came up at home this month, so I'm still out of town and haven't made it back yet. Seeing his explanation, it suddenly made sense to me. No wonder this guy was getting all his updates about me from the school forum. Then I suddenly remembered something. I quickly took the recent 7-day stock market trend intel rewarded by the system and sent it over. Then I typed, "Sissy, don't say I'm not a good bro. If you're willing to trust me, follow the instructions on this. I guarantee you'll be thanking me soon." After sending that message, I started studying this priceless stock market intel rewarded by the system. Meanwhile, Chen Molin was completely confused. She couldn't understand any of this stuff, so she called her dad. "Oh, my precious daughter is still awake? What made you think of calling me today?" "Dad, the way you say that makes it sound like I never call you." "Haha, Dad's just joking. So what's up? Do you need something?" "Nothing much. I sent you something. Take a look when you have time. By the way, is the issue with our company still not resolved?" "Don't worry, sweetie. It'll be resolved very soon. Besides, you're just a girl. Just focus on your studies. Dad will handle the company's affairs." Then, perhaps to keep Chen Molin from worrying, her father made a bit more small talk before hurriedly hanging up. Meanwhile, I had just stepped out of my tent, planning to relieve myself in the woods, when I suddenly noticed a massive dark shadow dart past not far away. Sensing something was wrong, I quickly followed it. As I got closer, I realized that the massive shadow was actually a full-grown black bear. At this time, Chen Molin, her mind full of distracting thoughts, had slowly drifted off to sleep, completely unaware that a terrifying adult beast was charging straight toward the girl's camp. Chen Molin was completely oblivious to this. Just as the black bear was about to pounce on the tent, the very next second, what was that noise? The black bear got back up, its eyes filled with rage. The next second, it lunged at me. "Hey, get down, get lost. Roar, you want some more?" After I said that, the bear's eyes filled with terror. The next second, it scrambled up and fled like crazy. Seeing this, I chose not to chase after it. I turned around and headed back to get some sleep. Little did I know, everything that just happened was seen by Chen Molin, who was hiding in the shadows. It turned out that when Chen Molin was startled awake earlier, she had also stepped out of her tent to investigate the noise and ended up seeing a full-grown black bear being tossed around like a baby chick by a human-shaped grizzly bear. So much so that even after I left, she was still too shocked to snap out of it. Later, when she got back to her tent, Chen Molin took out her phone and typed a few words. "Macho Man, thank you." When I saw the message from Chen Molin, I felt a bit baffled. I thought he had realized just how precious that stock market prediction intel was. Then, I went to sleep, completely satisfied. Early the next morning, right at 6:30, the freshmen were woken up and went on a 40-minute morning run. I originally wanted to ask for a half-day off after the run to visit the stock exchange. However, when we returned to the camp, we found a uniformed police officer waiting there. Seeing this, a few freshmen in the camp immediately started whispering, "Holy crap, did someone commit a crime? Stop talking nonsense. They're probably just running some kind of drill for us." "Yeah, probably." Scared me for a second. The freshmen muttered among themselves for a bit and didn't think much more of it. But when I saw him, my expression changed slightly because I could feel that intense gaze locked tightly right onto me. And right at that moment, the instructor called me over. When I stood in front of the officer, he looked me up and down from up close, his face showing a hint of shock, his eyes filled with awe, simply because my presence was far too intimidating. Seeing me from a distance and feeling my presence up close were two completely different concepts. The officer then coughed and asked me to come with him. At this point, I had already guessed why he was here. Sure enough, once we got to the police car, I took the initiative and asked, "You're looking for me because of what happened 3 nights ago at Kangping residential area, right?" The officer was visibly surprised. "How did you guess?" I just smiled and didn't say much. This kind of situation, I had run into it way too many times growing up. The officer then took out his phone and played a video. The video showed exactly what happened 3 nights ago. Me leaping up and scaling to the 6th floor to save a trapped little boy, and then crashing down onto a Mercedes-Benz. The whole thing was recorded. I openly admitted to it and asked how much I needed to pay in damages. I instinctively assumed that the owner of the car I smashed had filed a police report. After all, it was a Mercedes-Benz. But the officer just chuckled. "Pay damages? That's not why we're looking for you today." I was immediately confused. Was the Mercedes owner really that generous, choosing not to hold me accountable? Seeing my confusion, the officer explained, "Hold you accountable for what? You saved his son's life. What's a little car repair compared to that? People who can afford luxury cars like that don't care about that kind of money." Besides, early the day before yesterday, he brought a massive thank you banner to our station and told us to do everything we could to find you, so he could thank you in person. I was stunned for a moment. I hadn't realized that the kid I saved and the car I smashed belonged to the same family. In the end, I told the officer that I was a bit shy and introverted, so an in-person thank you wasn't necessary. If it was convenient, he could just drop me off at the stock exchange on Chuntian Road. The officer didn't refuse and quickly agreed. However, not long after getting into the car, a familiar notification sound chimed. Mission updated. Brave crime fighter. Please apprehend the criminal suspect, Ma Weimao, within 1 hour. Reward upon completion. A Mercedes-Benz G800 SUV. Hearing this, I felt a bit speechless. Why was there a time limit? I didn't even know who Ma Weimao was, so where was I supposed to go catch him? So, I tentatively asked Officer Feng if he had ever heard of this guy. To my surprise, he froze upon hearing the name. Are you talking about the Class A wanted criminal, Ma Weimao? That guy is an extremely vicious and cunning scumbag. We've cornered him 3 times, and he managed to slip away every single time. Hearing about the reward, my eyes instantly lit up. I pulled out my phone, logged onto the Dragon Kingdom Police Network's official website, and found the guy's information. Ma Weimao, 43 years old. Vicious personality, extremely ruthless. He had already committed 2 consecutive crimes while on the run, leaving no survivors each time. I carefully memorized Ma Weimao's details. Then, I started analyzing some key information. I had just said I wanted to go to Chuntian Road, and the system coincidentally popped up with this prompt. Didn't that mean there was a high probability he was in that area? So, I immediately urged the officer to drive faster. Once we arrived, Officer Fang had just parked the car when I suddenly asked if we could circle the block a couple of times. Although Officer Fang was very confused, perhaps because of the serious tone I used when I spoke, he instinctively did as I asked. Seeing this, I thanked him. Only then did Officer Fang feel his body relax, as if the oppressive aura radiating from me had vanished without a trace. The car then circled the area several times, but I still didn't spot anything unusual, until there were only 15 minutes left on the mission timer. Just as I was starting to lose hope, my gaze suddenly locked onto a man. His demeanor looked just like any ordinary person, but the exact moment he saw the police car, I sharply noticed. Every muscle in his body tensed up. The next moment, I rolled down the car window and began my final verification. Ah, way, right? This sudden roar echoed across the entire street. A few pedestrians heard it, and their first reaction was to turn and look my way. But that middle-aged man was the only exception. When he heard the name Ma Weimao, he immediately turned around and started running. Seeing this, I yanked the car door open and jumped straight out of the moving police car. Seeing this, the officer couldn't help but cry out in shock. He thought I had a death wish, but I just did a simple side roll, kicked off the ground, and stood right back up. Then, I sprinted explosively in his direction. Meanwhile, Ma Weimao, after running quite a distance, glanced back from the corner of his eye. Instantly, he felt like he was suffocating. He had never seen a police officer with such a terrifying aura and with such a massive build. How the hell was he running so fast? A vicious glint flashed in Ma Weimao's eyes. The next moment, he shoved aside an old lady standing next to an e-bike. After snatching the e-bike, he swerved into a narrow alley and sped away, cursing furiously, "You son of a bitch! In your dreams if you think you can catch me." Chunhua Road was flanked by commercial pedestrian streets, and behind the storefronts was a complex maze of residential buildings. Cars couldn't enter those narrow alleys at all. If someone unfamiliar with the area entered these narrow paths and alleys, they'd probably get lost after just one turn. He was confident that no matter how fast I ran, I'd be hindered by the complicated terrain. However, at this moment, I stood beneath a residential building facing the street. With a powerful kick of my legs, I launched myself into the air the very next second, grabbing directly onto the security bars of a 4th-floor window. Then, with a swing of my body, I flung myself onto the rooftop of the building opposite. Meanwhile, Ma Weimao was riding the e-bike, continuously weaving through the narrow alleys. As for whether he'd get lost, he wasn't worried in the slightest. If he could even make himself dizzy from all the turns, let alone those cops chasing him. After blindly taking another 7 or 8 turns, Ma Weimao stopped the bike, tossed it aside, and prepared to make a clean getaway. But suddenly, a loud boom echoed behind him, as if some heavy object had plummeted from the building above. Fuck! Throwing shit from high up. People have no damn manners. Ma Weimao cursed without even looking back. Then, he prepared to walk away. But after just 2 steps, the hairs on his entire body stood on end. It felt as if he were being targeted by a wild beast. He turned his head to look, only to find me slowly walking toward him. Ma Weimao couldn't help but cry out in shock. He knew it was too late to run. His only choice was to fight with his back against the wall. So, he opened his mouth and asked, "You came to catch me all by yourself?" Hearing this, I stopped in my tracks and silently nodded. Seeing this, a fierce glint flashed in Ma Weimao's eyes. His right hand, hidden behind his back, drew a dagger, and he immediately charged at me. But the very next moment, as he swung the dagger at me, I suddenly grabbed his knife-wielding wrist. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't move an inch. Ma Weimao instantly revealed a look of sheer terror. Just as he was about to speak, the next second, I slapped him right across the face. He immediately lost consciousness and collapsed onto the ground, out cold. Seeing this, I couldn't help but mutter that for a ruthless bandit, he sure couldn't take a hit. Right at that moment, the system's voice chimed in. Congratulations, host, on completing the mission. A Mercedes-Benz sales representative will contact you shortly. Hearing this, a satisfied smile appeared on my lips. Then I dragged Ma Weimao toward the entrance of the alley. Meanwhile, by the side of the street, Officer Fang was anxiously urging his colleagues for backup. He really didn't want this vicious thug, Ma Weimao, to escape once again. But right at that moment, a familiar voice came from behind him. Officer Fang turned his head and was instantly dumbfounded, because I was dragging an unconscious man by the hand, and that man was none other than the Class A wanted criminal, Ma Weimao. Officer Fang then stammered as he asked, Lu Ran, how did you catch him? Seeing his reaction, I casually explained what had happened. Hearing this, the shock in Officer Fang's eyes deepened. After he finally snapped out of it, he suggested taking me in to make a statement. I nodded in agreement, but mentioned that I needed to drop by the stock exchange first. Without waiting for Officer Fang to refuse, I dragged Ma Weimao toward the entrance of the stock exchange. Meanwhile, Chen Molin, who had returned to her college dorm, was staring at her phone, looking a bit absent-minded because she hadn't received a message from me in a long time. And right at that moment, her roommate, who was looking at her computer, suddenly exclaimed, Big news! Huge news! Chen Molin didn't care at first, but her roommate's next words left her stunned. This morning, Lu Ran was taken away from the camp by the police. You didn't know, did you? As soon as her roommate finished speaking, a scream echoed through the girl's dorm. Chen Molin immediately pushed the door open and rushed out. She went to a secluded corner of the campus, clutching her phone and hesitating for a long time. But thinking about how I hadn't replied to her messages for so long, she gathered her courage and dialed a number. Soon, a mature woman's voice came from the other end of the line. What is it, sweetie? Spit it out if it's important. I'm busy right now. Chen Molin looked nervous, but she still mustered the courage to ask her mother for help, to look into a boy saying that he had just been taken away by the police this morning. As soon as Chen Molin finished speaking, the voice on the phone suddenly raised a few octaves. A boy? And he was taken away by the police? Sweetie, don't tell me. You've gotten yourself some shady, no good delinquent for a boyfriend. Hearing this, Chen Molin hurriedly explained everything, which finally calmed her mother's agitated mood. Meanwhile, in Ningbai, inside the office of the police department's criminal investigation captain, Chen Melian was sitting in her chair with a dark expression, because after receiving her daughter's call, she had looked into it and found out that a colleague from the branch office had indeed gone to the camp early this morning to arrest someone. She then hurriedly drove over to the branch office. After arriving at the branch office, she learned from Officer Fang an incredibly shocking piece of news, and that was the wanted criminal she had failed to catch after multiple pursuits, Ma Weimao, had actually been apprehended, and he was caught by an 18-year-old college student, so she quickly asked what that student's name was. Officer Fang then gave her my name. Hearing this, Chen Melian was instantly stunned, because she realized she had completely misunderstood me. She originally thought I was some delinquent thug who had committed a crime and was taken away by the police for it. And right at that moment, I had just finished my statement and walked out, locking eyes perfectly with Chen Melian. After looking me up and down, Chen Melian blinked with a strange expression, because her first impression of me was that I was massively built like a giant bear. Her second impression was curiosity. Was this guy really her daughter's friend? With a hulking frame like that, he'd probably have a hard time finding a wife in the future. Later, after I walked out of the police station, I hailed a cab to go pick up my car. On the way, I checked my phone and found that Pretty Boy had sent me a barrage of messages. Macho Man, the school forum says you got taken away by the cops. What's going on? Haven't you come out yet? I asked an acquaintance at the station, are you okay? Big Bear, are you out yet? I'm dying of anxiety here. Seeing this, a wave of warmth welled up in my heart. I typed back, telling him not to worry, that I was just there to make a statement, and that I was already on my way to pick up my car. Later, when I arrived at the entrance of the Mercedes-Benz dealership and was just about to walk inside, I suddenly sensed with sharp intuition a pair of hands rushing toward me from behind. Hey, guess who? Ouch. Why is it her? Senior, why did you sneak attack me? What sneak attack? I just wanted to cover your eyes, and have you guessed who I was? Who knew you'd react so violently? Hearing this, I couldn't help but mutter that she was acting like a little kid. However, as soon as I said that, Chen Molin burst into tears. 2 streams of tears flowed down her face like a broken dam, falling endlessly. Her crying instantly drew the attention of all the passersby around us. Making such a pretty girl cry, that guy is way out of line. Seeing this, a pedestrian was about to come over and scold me, but when he got a clear look at my face, his feet instantly froze as if glued to the ground. Then, he quickly turned his head and hurried away. Afterward, I helplessly comforted Chen Molin for a bit, asking if I should take her to the hospital to get checked out, but she shook her head and refused. Then, she demanded that I agree to one request. To stop this little princess from crying, I had no choice but to nod and agree. Just say it. As long as you stop crying, I'll do anything. Lu Ran then, take me away and let's elope. Chen Molin's feelings were very complicated at this moment. She felt deeply wronged. Her loud crying just now seemed to have released years of pent-up pressure, because growing up, everyone around her had always been envious of her. Her father was the CEO of a corporate enterprise. Her mother was a high-ranking police official, and she was beautiful and had excellent grades. She was the textbook definition of the perfect child, but she didn't feel happy at all. because everything in her life, from childhood to now, had been arranged by her parents, her hobbies, her daily routine. Even the friends she made were controlled by her parents. And just this noon, her mom had actually come to school and called her out, lecturing her for a whole hour, telling her not to hang out with shady boys, although she didn't dare talk back to her face. As soon as her mother left, she instantly became furious. What's wrong with Lu Ran? Does looking fierce make someone a bad person? Why should I stay away from Lu Ran? The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. In a moment of hot-headedness, she came straight looking for me, which led to the scene that just happened. As for me, after hearing Chen Molin's words, I stood there stunned for a long time. I thought this campus belle had lost her mind, so I suggested taking her to the hospital to get checked. But right at that moment, a familiar notification sound rang in my mind. Please take Chen Molin and evade pursuit from the police and others. The longer you last, the richer the rewards, capped at 10 days. Reward for surviving the first day, 1 million. Hearing this, my eyes instantly lit up. Then, right on the spot, I agreed to the campus belle's unreasonable request. Chen Molin found it completely unbelievable. She really didn't expect that a dense guy like me would actually agree without even asking for a reason. Lu Ran, aren't you going to ask why I'm running away from home? Seeing this, I played along and asked her to tell her story. Chen Molin coldly snorted. She could clearly tell that this big bear obviously had no interest in knowing, but she still explained I had a fight with my family. I've already taken a few days off from school, and I left a message at home. Oh, I replied with a grunt, and told her to follow me to pick up the car. Soon, my new car was ready, with the license plates already installed. Sitting inside the spacious Mercedes-Benz G-Class SUV, I was in a pretty good mood. Meanwhile, Chen Molin was extremely surprised. Although she didn't recognize the car model, she had a Mercedes S-Class in her family's garage. So she asked me how much this car cost. I gave a perfunctory reply, just a few $100,000. Chen Molin snorted, looking displeased. Her family's Mercedes S-Class cost over $1 million fully loaded. This one was obviously more expensive. Right at that moment, Chen Molin's stomach growled. Hearing it, I asked if she was hungry. On the surface, Chen Molin gave a soft, gentle but inside, she was roaring like a dragon. I'm so mad. Of course I'm hungry, because you got arrested this morning. I didn't even eat breakfast. And just as I was about to eat lunch, my mom called me out. Afterward, I pulled over by the side of the road and planned to find a random stir-fry place for dinner. But as we were crossing the street to the other side, I felt a soft, cool sensation on my hand. I looked down and saw that Chen Molin had taken the initiative to hold my hand. I have street crossing phobia. If I don't hold on to someone, I can't cross the street. I have street crossing phobia. If I don't hold on to someone, I can't cross the street. Hearing this excuse, I felt a bit helpless. I had heard of claustrophobia, but I had never heard of any street crossing phobia. But whatever, holding hands is holding hands. I'm a guy anyway. It's not like I'm losing out. Then I deliberately squeezed Chen Molin's small hand. Gotta admit, her hand was really soft. Chen Molin's eyes fluttered slightly, and she couldn't help but complain inwardly. Big bear, don't push your luck. However, Chen Molin suddenly felt that, after holding the big bear's hand, the anxiety in her heart vanished instantly. As for that street crossing phobia, let's just pretend it's real. Afterward, I took her to a stir-fry restaurant. Once the dishes were served, Chen Molin, who had truly been starving all day, completely disregarded her image and started wolfing down the food. Seeing this, my expression turned a bit weird. Seeming to notice my gaze, Chen Molin glared at me and said, "What are you looking at? Stupid bear, haven't you ever seen a pretty girl eat?" Later, after we finished eating, when I went to pay the bill, I ran into an awkward problem. The meal cost $270 in total, but my phone actually prompted insufficient balance. It was only then that I remembered. I had thrown all my money into the stock market today. The portion of living expenses I had saved for myself was spent on registering and fueling the car. Right at that moment, Chen Molin walked up to the cashier. "I'll pay. All the expenses for the next few days are on me. Since I'm covering the expenses for these 3 days, does that mean I get to decide where we go next?" Hearing this, I helplessly agreed. Then, Chen Molin grabbed my hand and quickly pulled me out of the restaurant, heading straight for the movie theater. Looking at Chen Molin acting like this, I remembered my roommate saying she was some aloof, unapproachable campus belle. But not only did I not see that at all, I actually felt like this campus belle was just trying to get into my pants. After we entered the theater and sat down, I watched for a bit and found the plot pretty boring. But then, a piece of popcorn was brought to my lips. Don't just watch the movie. Eat some popcorn. Otherwise, it'll be a waste if we don't finish it. The atmosphere suddenly felt a bit different. This made me quickly grab a handful of popcorn and stuff it into my mouth, hiding the trace of panic in my heart as I pretended to watch the movie seriously. Chen Molin looked at my flustered appearance and secretly covered her mouth to giggle. I finally get to see another side of the big bear. Hey. He's pretty cute. A few minutes later, I felt Chen Molin's body slowly leaning closer to mine. Junior Liu, I already fed you. Aren't you going to feed me a piece too? Seeing this, I nodded. Then, I smugly asked Chen Molin if she wanted more, saying that even if she stood 10 meters away, I could accurately flick it right into her mouth. Hearing this, Chen Molin was completely speechless. As the movie entered its second half, Chen Molin leaned in again. This time, Her face was completely serious. She had already made up her mind to reveal her identity. Then she softly called my name, but I didn't respond for a long time, so she leaned in for a closer look, only to find that I had fallen asleep ages ago. Later, when the movie ended, we walked out of the theater. Chen Molin's eyes darted around, and a playful smile appeared on her lips. She pretended to check the time on her phone, then spoke up. "It's getting late. Why don't we find a place to rest?" I replied that if she was tired, we could just find a hotel and get one room each. I had no objections to that, but Chen Molin shook her head. I just remembered, I left in such a hurry that I forgot to bring my ID. I was a bit puzzled hearing this. How could anyone forget to bring that? Without an ID, checking into a hotel would be a huge hassle. Nowadays, it's strictly one ID per person. Afterward, I asked 4 different hotels in a row, and finally found one that allowed 2 people to check in together. But when it came to choosing a room, facing the receptionist's question, I hesitated. "Excuse me, would you prefer a king-size bed or twin beds?" I frowned and asked if we could book another room, but she smiled bitterly and explained, "Using one ID to check in 2 people is already pushing our limits, and we have to hope management doesn't find out. Otherwise, we'll be fined." At that moment, Chen Molin tugged at my sleeve and said a twin room would be fine. "All right, here is your room key. Please keep it safe." After taking the room key, we got into the elevator. I couldn't help but ask Chen Molin in confusion, why did she trust me so much? Wasn't she afraid I might try something? Seeing this, a triumphant look flashed in Chen Molin's eyes. "Don't worry, I trust you." Later, when we found our room and swiped the card to enter, Chen Molin immediately locked the door behind us and turned off all the lights. The room was instantly plunged into darkness. I was completely dumbfounded and actually started getting a little nervous. Holy shit, what is this campus belle trying to do? She really is after my body. But isn't she being a bit too eager? Lu ran. I gulped and asked her what was wrong. "Take out your phone, switch it to camera mode, and let's check if there are any pinhole cameras installed in this room. If a red dot appears on your phone screen, that's the signal source of a camera." As she said this, she had already taken out her phone and started checking. I was stunned hearing this. This was a bit too professional, so I couldn't help but ask, "Do you come to places like this often?" "What are you thinking? I do not come here often. This is just common sense." I felt a bit awkward hearing that. Turns out I had completely misunderstood her. Later, when the lights were turned back on, Chen Molin stared at me meaningfully and said she was going to take a shower first. She warned me not to peek. Hearing this, I obediently sat on the bed, not daring to move an inch. A minute later, the sound of splashing water echoed from the bathroom. I felt the temperature around me rise a few degrees. What the hell is up with this campus belle? She's supposed to have a pure, innocent good girl persona, but she keeps teasing me, intentionally or not. I really can't wrap my head around it. It's better to ask someone else about this kind of thing. My own romantic experience is practically zero. I took out my phone and started texting. Yang Pao, you there? It's an absolute emergency. Reply ASAP. Waiting online. Deep in thought, I didn't realize that. Right after I sent this message, the sound of the shower in the bathroom suddenly stopped. A few seconds later, young Master Yang Pao replied, "Of course I'm here. I'm cooking right now, so I might reply a bit slow. What's up? You might not believe this, but I'm currently with a beautiful girl in a hotel room. I didn't expect you to be that kind of guy. Keep your mind out of the gutter. Am I that kind of person? No jokes. She's taking a shower right now. What if she throws herself at me after she's done? Should I knock her out and wake her up tomorrow morning?" A few minutes passed after I sent that message, before he finally replied, "You wouldn't dare." Wait, no. I mean, why would you even think that? She probably had a fight with her family. I don't like taking advantage of people. I see. Actually, if a girl is willing to stay in the same room as you, she's definitely into you. You should chat with her more and deepen your bond. Seeing this, I fell into deep thought. The aloof campus belle is into me. Why would she be into me? Just because I helped them on the subway? And just as I was spacing out for a few minutes, the bathroom door opened. A figure with long legs, wrapped only in a white bathrobe, walked out. I just took one glance and quickly looked away. Instead of frustratingly asking her why she didn't get dressed before coming out, Chen Molin simply tossed her long, beautiful hair. She asked me if she looked good like this. I lied through my teeth and said there was no difference. What about like this? I didn't know why she said something so weird. I instinctively looked over, but the very next second, the campus belle pulled off her bathrobe. Suddenly, the air grew dead silent. Chen Molin couldn't hold back and let out a burst of silvery laughter, because even though she pulled off the bathrobe, she was already fully dressed underneath. She was wearing a pair of hot pants, which had been completely hidden by the robe, making it look like she had nothing on. Why are you acting like a little kid? Am I? But it looks to me like someone is feeling pretty disappointed. I shot back. You're definitely seeing things. Then I walked straight into the bathroom. Seeing me go in, Molin collapsed onto the bed. Her face was completely flushed red. Who knows what she was thinking? And I wasn't doing much better inside the bathroom. I turned the shower temperature all the way down to the lowest setting, which finally helped cool down my burning heart. After taking a cold shower for a solid half hour, I finally got dressed and walked out. Chen Molin was already tucked into bed. Seeing this, I felt a bit relieved. It seemed she still had some sense of boundaries. Just then, Chen Molin suddenly teased, "Didn't they say guys shower really fast? How come you took even longer than me? You weren't doing anything naughty in there, were you?" I shot her a glance but didn't say a word. I just got straight into the covers of the other bed. But as soon as I lay down, I frowned. Why is this bed so warm? And it has a faint, fresh fragrance. So I looked over at Chen Moulin again. Oh, I tried out both beds and felt this one was a bit more comfortable. I really didn't know how to respond to that excuse. I then took out my phone, planning to continue chatting with young Master Yang Pao. But it turned out he had sent a message a few minutes ago. Food's ready. I'm gonna eat first. Talk to you later. I instantly felt a bit helpless. How could this guy drop the ball at such a crucial moment? I turned off my phone, closed my eyes, and prepared to sleep. But right then, Chen Moulin suddenly asked, Lu Ran, are you asleep? I gave a half-hearted reply. I'm asleep, but Chen Moulin's next words made my eyes snap wide open. Lu Ran, I'm a little scared sleeping in a bed by myself. Why don't we squeeze in together? Hearing that, I was completely at a loss for words. And right at that moment, out in the hallway, the noisy sound of footsteps suddenly echoed. Then, multiple knocks on doors rang out all at once. Please open the door. Police routine inspection. We received a tip that an illegal organization is hiding here. Don't panic, we just need to do a quick check. Chen Moulin and I instantly went wide-eyed. We were both stunned. I immediately rushed over to the window, cracked the curtains open just a sliver, and saw that at the hotel entrance, 3 police cars were already blocking the way down below. Chen Moulin didn't have her ID when we checked in. Plus, with my fierce-looking appearance, it would definitely be a huge hassle if we got checked, so I made a split-second decision. I was going to grab Chen Moulin and jump out the window. Meanwhile, Chen Moulin's eyes were darting around the room. She was debating whether to hide in the bathroom, the closet, or maybe under the desk. Just as she was agonizing over it, I walked over to her with a dead serious expression. Then I flat out told her I was taking her to jump out the building. Chen Moulin was dumbfounded. She definitely did not want to experience that. As I closed in on her step by step, Chen Moulin suddenly blurted out, Wait a minute, I think I have a way to handle this. Her eyes lit up slightly. You stay right here. Whatever you do, don't come out. With that, she opened the door and walked out, then shut it behind her. Seeing this, a look of utter confusion crossed my face. Meanwhile, out in the hallway, a police officer saw Chen Moulin step out and quickly stepped forward to question her. But Chen Moulin beat him to the punch. I don't have my ID on me, but your Captain Feng can vouch for my identity. Chen Moulin pointed at a man not far away who clearly looked like the captain in charge. The officer looked a bit puzzled, but still turned and explained the situation to his captain. Hearing this, Captain Feng impatiently told him to just bring the person back to the station first. But when he turned his head and got a clear look at Chen Moulin's face, he instantly froze. Lin, why are you here? Seeing him, Chen Moulin quickly walked over. After a polite greeting, she started making things up on the fly. I came out today to run some errands, but it got too late, and I didn't want to bother the dorm auntie, so I just found a random hotel to stay the night. Captain Feng nodded after hearing this. He earnestly told her to pay attention to her safety and to just honestly go back to her dorm next time. I'll head back first thing tomorrow morning. Uncle Feng, could you please not tell my mom about this? If she finds out, she'll definitely scold me to death. Looking at Chen Moulin's pitiful expression, Captain Feng could only helplessly agree. He then waved his hand and turned to leave. Seeing this, Chen Moulin also walked back to her room door. But to her sheer embarrassment, she realized she hadn't brought the room keycard. Now she was completely socially dead. If she knocked on the door, wouldn't that be telling Uncle Feng that she came here to get a room with someone else? Just as Chen Moulin was caught in this dilemma, a soft click of the door opening sounded. The room door slowly cracked open a sliver. Chen Moulin quickly slipped back inside. But little did she know, that young police officer from earlier suddenly spoke up to Captain Feng. Captain, that room door just now. It looked like it was opened by someone from the inside. It seems there's someone else in there. Do you think we should? But before he could finish, Captain Feng immediately cut him off. He told him to keep his mouth shut and pretend he didn't see a thing. Then he gave the rookie cop a look that said, You're still too young. Meanwhile, inside the room, Chen Moulin calmed her nerves and praised, Lu Ran, thank goodness you opened the door in time. Otherwise, my cover would have been blown. Was there someone you knew out there? We used to be neighbors in the same compound. He's very close with my parents. Her mom and him work in the same bureau, and they even have a superior-subordinate relationship. I nodded, not thinking too much about it. Then I went back to bed, planning to go back to sleep. 10 minutes later, Chen Moulin, who had been playing on her phone for a bit, noticed I hadn't said another word, so she couldn't help but speak up again. Lu Ran, how about we go to the amusement park tomorrow? But after a long while, there was no answer. Chen Moulin quietly turned her head over, only to find that I had actually fallen asleep. Then, Chen Moulin sat up in bed, huffing with annoyance. She pulled an eyebrow pencil out of her bag and slowly crept toward me. 15 minutes later, Chen Moulin crawled back under her covers, completely satisfied. After playing on her phone a little longer, she too fell into a deep sleep. Early the next morning, I woke up right on time at 7 a.m. After doing 100 one-arm push-ups in the room, I finally stopped. Just then, the sound of clapping echoed. Chen Moulin had woken up at some point. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, clapping, and praising my discipline with a wicked smirk on her face. While she spoke, she kept staring right at my face. Halfway through her sentence, she broke character and started laughing. And the more she laughed, the more exaggerated it got, until she completely collapsed onto the bed in a fit of giggles. I gave this silly girl a helpless look and walked into the bathroom. Soon, a helpless sigh echoed from inside the bathroom. Chen Moulin once again collapsed onto the bed in laughter. An hour later, I brought Chen Molin to the amusement park. Even though it was only 8 a.m., there were already quite a few people inside the park, mostly young couples or families of 3. I already made a game plan last night. Today, watch your seniors show you how to conquer this amusement park. Looking at the bustling amusement park, I was actually in a pretty good mood. It had been at least 6 or 7 years since the last time I came to an amusement park. Next up, our 2-person amusement park adventure officially began. Chen Molin deliberately picked some really thrilling rides just to see if I get scared, but I remained completely unfazed the entire time. Instead, she ended up scaring herself half to death on every single intense ride. After going on 2 rides, I took advantage of our break time to take the 1 million yuan reward from the first day of the Great Escape, which had hit my account early this morning, and dumped it all into the stock market. Then I started calculating what my returns would be in 7 days. Right at that moment, Chen Molin grabbed my hand again, excitedly shouting that we should go to the haunted house. She was thinking that maybe this would finally scare me. She just refused to believe she couldn't find something I was afraid of. When we arrived in front of the haunted house, I could see from a distance a massive skull. The skull's mouth was the entrance, and the words "Phantom Inn" were written across its forehead. The staff at the entrance quickly went over the safety rules, and after a brief rundown, signaled that we could go in. After I pulled Chen Molin through the entrance, the lights around us instantly vanished. Screams echoed through the darkness, making Chen Molin immediately cling to my arm. Seeing this, I comforted her. Don't be nervous. It hasn't even started yet. Besides, there are no real ghosts in a haunted house. I then took the lead, pulling Chen Molin along, while she kept her head down and followed closely behind. Just as we reached a corner, the wooden lid of a coffin suddenly popped open, and a guy wrapped entirely in bandages stood up. The very next second, a rough, manly scream echoed throughout the haunted house. Naturally, this wasn't Chen Molin's scream, and it wasn't mine either. It belonged to the bandage guy who had just stood up, because right at that moment, a fist the size of a clay pot was hovering just a few centimeters away from his face. You scared the crap out of me. I almost killed you. I glared at the bandage guy and grumbled. I am sorry, bro. My bad. I'll just get back in. He quickly scrambled back into the coffin and pulled the lid shut over himself. He was genuinely terrified and shaken. Looking back at Chen Molin, after being startled by the bandage guy, she had completely wrapped herself around my back and refused to let go no matter what. Left with no choice, I had to scoop her up in a Princess Carrie and hold her in my arms. Otherwise, we'd never make it through this haunted house. 10 minutes later, I carried Chen Molin all the way to the haunted house exit. I looked back at the haunted house. Overall, it was decent, but the scare factor was still a bit weak. After Chen Molin hopped down from my arms, I noticed her face was beaming with a smile. She didn't look the least bit scared, confused. I asked her why she wasn't scared anymore. I was scared at first, but after you held me, I slowly got used to it, Chen Molin said with a sweet smile. Hearing this, I sighed inwardly. Sure enough, the prettier the woman, the better she is at lying. Meanwhile, inside Office 3 of the Ningbai police station, an officer pushed the door open and barged in. Captain G, those human traffickers have shown up. They're currently lining up at the entrance of the Ningbai amusement park. Chen Malian's eyes lit up upon hearing this. She slammed her hand on the desk and immediately ordered the entire squad to move out. Move out to the amusement park. At this time, after Chen Molin dragged me onto 3 more rides, we were finally exhausted and starving. It was 12:30 p.m. When we arrived at the dining and rest area inside the park, we found it completely packed with people. If I had known, we would have skipped 1 ride and eaten lunch earlier. Now there isn't even a place to sit, Chen Molin muttered. You could go on 2 more rides, and by the time the lunch rush is over, there'll be seats. I chuckled and said, I'd starve to death by then. Seeing this, I couldn't help but retort, then let's just eat somewhere else. Chen Molin paused. Right, why do we have to eat in the rest area? Why didn't she think of that? It definitely wasn't because she wasn't smart. She was just having so much fun today that she forgot. After her sudden realization, Chen Molin bought 2 burgers and 2 cups of milk tea and found a lunch spot she was very satisfied with, a bench by the central lake of the amusement park. At this hour, most people had gone to eat, so there weren't many people by the lake, just the occasional parent pushing a stroller or a young couple taking a stroll. I hesitated for a moment when I took the milk tea and asked her if this was a normal milk tea. Chen Molin smiled brightly and promised that this time it definitely wasn't sour. If you don't believe me, I can take a sip of yours first. Hearing her say that, I knew the milk tea was fine. Then we opened our combo meals and started eating while chatting. Chen Molin would also occasionally take out her phone and snap a few photos, saying she wanted to keep them as souvenirs. After all, it was her first time at an amusement park. I just focused on eating and didn't stop her. But right at that moment, a familiar voice rang out in my mind. Task updated. Catch them all. Apprehend all 5 human traffickers. Task completion reward. 1 cashback card. Trafficker action countdown. 30 seconds starting now. Hearing this, I instantly stood up. Ignoring Chen Molin's confused look, I began scanning my surroundings. The countdown in my head was now down to just over 10 seconds. Since the system gave this prompt, this incident was highly likely to happen right near me. Soon, my eyes locked onto a middle-aged man around 50 years old. He was pushing a baby stroller. I narrowed my eyes and saw a young man suddenly pop out from behind a tree. Then, he quickly rushed toward the middle-aged man pushing the stroller. Next, the young man snatched the middle-aged man's phone and bolted away. The middle-aged man wanted to chase after him, but looked down at the stroller in his hands, completely frantic. Chen Molin was stunned. She never expected to witness a robbery right in front of her eyes. She immediately suggested we go help, but I told her not to rush and to just watch. Right at that moment, a fashionably dressed young woman hurried over to the middle-aged man's side. "Sir, hurry and chase the robber. I'll watch the baby for you." "Oh, thank you so much, miss. Wait right here for me." After the middle-aged man said that, without a second thought, he took off running and chased after the guy who stole his phone. Seeing this, Chen Molin sighed with emotion. There really are more good people in the world. But the very next second, the young woman who had stepped up to help, seeing that the middle-aged man had run far away, hurriedly pushed the stroller rapidly in the opposite direction. Chen Molin was instantly dumbfounded. She finally realized what was happening. This was a human trafficker too. A minute later, the woman pushed the stroller to a pavilion. Inside the pavilion were two men. One of them was the very same young man who had snatched the phone. The other, a man with a scarred face, urged them, telling the two to hurry up. The rest of the crew was already waiting at the entrance, but just as he finished speaking, the baby in the stroller slowly started to cry. The woman was just about to cover the baby's mouth. The woman was just about to cover his mouth when suddenly a voice rang out. "Excuse me, I'll be taking this child." The woman turned to look and saw a tall, fierce figure slowly walking over. Her two accomplices were also full of shock. After snapping back to reality, the trafficker named Old Zhao said viciously, "You guys grab the kid and hurry. Go meet up with Old Qian. I'll hold him off." Then, he pulled a folding knife out of his pocket. Seeing him pull out a weapon, Chen Molin's eyes filled with worry. "Lu Ran, what do? We don't have any weapons." But I just spoke calmly, telling her not to worry. To me, that was nothing but a toy knife. Chen Molin frowned at that. It sure doesn't look like one. The blade was gleaming with a cold, sharp light. But just as she was doubting me, I suddenly dashed forward. Seeing this, Old Zhao instinctively swung his knife, but the moment he raised his hand, a slap landed hard across his face. He was instantly sent flying through the air, crashing to the ground and getting knocked out cold. The female trafficker was completely dumbfounded. She turned to look at me and immediately made her choice. "Boss, we'll give you the kid. Just let us go, please." After that, Chen Molin stepped forward and took the stroller. Seeing this, I was just about to step up and grab those two as well, when two police officers rushed over from different directions. "Police, freeze! Put your hands in the air." The female trafficker and her accomplice turned pale as ghosts. They quickly raised their hands and squatted on the ground. But the two cops didn't relax in the slightest, because in their eyes, I seemed to be an extremely dangerous target too. Just as I was figuring out how to explain, Lu Ran, Yan, Captain Huang and Fang Jun's voices rang out at the same time. Suddenly, everyone present was stunned. Uncle Feng walked up to us, frowning as he asked, "What's going on with you two?" Chen Molin gave a very convincing rundown of what happened. After hearing it, the two finally understood the situation. "You two are really something. You definitely get a share of the credit for this. But next time you run into something like this, call the police immediately. Don't take action on your own." "Uncle Feng, my mom isn't here, is she?" Chen Molin asked in a low voice. "She's here. Captain Chen is the chief commander. She's right at the entrance." "Never mind. I'm not looking for my mom. We're good. We'll be leaving now." Chen Molin handed the child over to the officers, grabbed me, and tried to slip away. I held onto her small hand, and by unspoken agreement, we took a huge detour, leaving the amusement park through another exit. Neither of us was in the mood to keep playing. I was worried about failing the Great Escape mission, while Chen Molin was worried about getting caught by her mom. Just as we reached the parking lot and were about to drive off, my phone rang. The caller ID clearly showed Officer Chen. At that moment, Chen Molin stopped me. "Lu Ran, I have a confession to make." I looked at this little demon, wondering what kind of scheme she was brewing up now. Chen Molin looked at the phone, her eyes misting over with tears. "I was really happy today. Truly happy. I realized you have so many shining qualities, especially your eyes." I frowned deeply. She really can act, making the atmosphere feel like a life or death parting. She even memorized her lines. She leaned in close to me. "Lu Ran, actually my eyes are prettier than yours. What do you see in my eyes?" Those beautiful eyes stared deeply into mine. I slowly reached out toward her face, gently touching the corner of her eye, and pulled off a fallen eyelash. "Senior, you're too talented. It's just a single eyelash. Yet you managed to create such a dramatic vibe." Chen Molin's face instantly filled with anger. Without a moment of hesitation, she opened her mouth and bit down hard on my wrist. I let out a howl of pain. I didn't expect this girl to get so mad out of embarrassment, just because her little trick was exposed. She bit me for several seconds before finally letting go. After glaring at me fiercely, she snatched the phone and hit answer. "Lu Ran." Officer Chen's furious voice roared from the speaker. Chen Molin replied, "It's me, Mom." I was completely dumbfounded. What the hell? Why is the school beauty calling Officer Chen Mom? In a flash, the faces of the two women overlapped in my mind. They actually do look a lot alike. "You brat. College just started a few days ago and you're already skipping classes. Just because I scolded you yesterday?" "Mom, I'm in college now. I just want to breathe some fresh air on my own." "Fresh air my ass." Chen Melian cursed right over the phone. Seeing that the mother and daughter were about to get into a screaming match, I was just about to step in and mediate when the voice on the other end yelled again. "Do you have any idea what guys are thinking when they get close to you? Sure, That Lu Ran seems like a decent guy on the surface, but he's still a man. You don't understand which head men use to think about life. Dark lines formed on my forehead. Auntie, if you put it like that, then I really can't help you here. Mom, I know. That's why I never thought about having a purely platonic relationship. Lu Ran, you take it. After saying that, Chen Molin shoved the phone into my hands, crawled into the back seat, and curled up in a corner. Hello, Officer Chen. Lu Ran, right? Bring my daughter back and I won't pursue this. Otherwise. First of all, I approached Lu Ran on my own, and I willingly went with him. I'm covering all the expenses myself. I wasn't threatened, intimidated, or coerced, and I'm completely sober. I even have selfies as proof. From any legal standpoint, you can't pin any charges on him. Chen Molin retorted with well-founded arguments. After 2 seconds of silence, Chen Melian finally spoke. Fine. You little brat, you can run for 3 days, but don't let me catch you. Lu Ran, before I drag you two back, you better protect my daughter. Otherwise, you're dead meat. The call disconnected. The car was dead silent for several seconds. Chen Molin slumped limply into the back seat. Lu Ran, do you think I'm being really awful doing this? Yes. She almost choked on her own breath out of anger at my response. I then started the car and drove away from the amusement park, asking if she still wanted to continue this little elopement. Yes. If I go back now, I'll definitely be grounded. So, where's our next destination? Chen Molin thought for a few seconds, then her eyes lit up as she said she wanted to go to Lingnan City. I was instantly shocked. How did she know my home was in Lingnan City? Seeing my reaction, Chen Molin quickly feigned surprise. Lu Ran, you're from Lingnan? That's even better. You know your way around, so my mom definitely won't find us. I glanced at the rearview mirror, feeling certain this girl was hiding something from me, but I didn't plan on digging into it. I had already made up my mind. The moment this great escape mission was over, I'd toss her right back home. 3.5 hours later, we entered Lingnan City. I turned off the GPS. Around here, I was a walking GPS. Then, I woke up Chen Molin. She stretched lazily and asked what the plan was. I told her we'd grab something to eat first, and then I'd find a hotel for her to stay at. What about you? Where are you staying? I'm going home. I'm already in Lingnan. Why wouldn't I go home? You expect me to stay in a hotel with you. How can you do that? Aren't you worried I'll get kidnapped by bad guys in the middle of the night? I thought about it, and she had a point. If Officer Chen tracked us down and took her away, my mission would be a failure. So, I decided to book her a hotel near my house. That way, if anything happened, she could just call me. Hearing this, Chen Molin rolled her eyes and said, Lu Ran, I don't think I can stomach outside food. After eating out yesterday, my stomach was acting up. You mentioned before that you're a great cook, and that you'd cook for me if we had the chance. My face was full of question marks. When did I ever say I'd cook for her? But I also knew this girl was incredibly stubborn, so I had no choice but to agree. Then she demanded I take her to the mall. When we arrived at the mall, we were empty-handed. Half an hour later when we came out, I had 3 large shopping bags in my left hand and 4 in my right. I looked completely bewildered. Belts, lipsticks, cosmetics, lighters, wallets. This single trip cost at least 20 grand. Senior, what are you buying all this random stuff for? For your parents. She smiled faintly. Something like that. 20 minutes later, we arrived at the wet market. Oh, Duran, what brings you here grocery shopping? An auntie selling vegetables saw me and called out loudly. That shout was like poking a hornet's nest. Who's this little lady with you? Is she your cousin? She's so pretty. Cousin or not. Duran, the pork had me here today. Is freshly butchered. Chen Molin was completely dumbfounded. She never imagined that a fierce-looking guy like me would be so popular at the wet market. But she frowned slightly. What cousin? Why didn't anyone mistake her for my girlfriend? She narrowed her eyes, waited for the right moment, and took a step forward, ready to hug my thick arm. But by some stroke of luck, I dodged her. I even told her to mind her image. These are all my neighbors. Don't give them the wrong idea. Hearing this, Chen Molin almost wanted to bite me again. Grocery shopping took nearly 20 minutes. The whole time, Chen Molin just stood to the side, staring wide-eyed. She didn't help at all. This kind of haggling and hand-picking groceries completely hit her blind spot. 3 minutes later, the car parked downstairs at an ordinary residential complex. Is this your neighborhood? Yeah, it's been around for years. Doesn't look like much on the outside, but it's fine on the inside. She carefully observed the surroundings. 6-story buildings with no elevators, landscaping made up of naturally growing willow and poplar trees, and elderly folks chatting happily under the shade. Such a heartwarming scene was something she'd never see in her upscale neighborhood. Senior, what are you spacing out for? Let's go. Ah, coming. As she got out of the car, she turned and grabbed several gift bags from the back seat, clutching them in her hands. What are you holding those for? It's my first time visiting. You expect me to go empty-handed? Wouldn't that be too rude? Hearing this, it finally dawned on me. So all those things she bought were for my parents. What else? Did you think I bought them for you? You're really thoughtful. Hand the bags over to me. No, I'm going to carry them to your house myself. I didn't argue with her. I just turned and walked toward the building entrance. Chen Molin got a little annoyed. Lu Ran, you big bear. You could at least pretend to insist. Fine, I'll carry them myself. 30 seconds later, after walking only 10 meters, she was already panting slightly. Lu Ran, what floor is your house on? I might disappoint you, but my house is on the 6th floor. What? Chen Molin instantly regretted it. That high? How was she supposed to carry all this up? Seeing this, I shook my head, walked over, and told her to lift her arms. She peeked at me secretly, a glint of joy in her eyes, and eagerly raised her arms. But to her surprise, I said that hands aren't great for bearing weight, but elbows are different. I told her to hang the bags on her elbows so it'd be much easier. After saying that, I grabbed my own bags and walked into the building. Chen Molin was stunned. She yelled out, "Lu Ran, thank you so much." Chen Molin started to regret why she didn't just let me carry them the first time I asked. However, carrying things on her elbows did save some energy, but she only managed to make it up 2.5 floors. I didn't make things hard for her for the remaining floors. I carried all the bags up the rest of the way. A mischievous smirk tugged at the corner of Chen Molin's mouth. Regardless, the first step of entering his home was finally achieved. I took out my keys and opened the front door. At this hour, there was still over an hour before my parents got off work. That was plenty of time for me to cook dinner. I then told Chen Molin to make herself at home and headed to the kitchen to cook set. With that, I carried the groceries into the kitchen. Chen Molin then asked me where the bathroom was. She had sweated quite a bit climbing the stairs and wanted to take a shower. Without looking back, I told her that the room furthest inside was mine, and it had an ensuite bathroom. Towels are in the cabinet. Chen Molin gave a soft and began curiously observing the entire apartment. The furniture wasn't new, but everything was perfectly organized. Even the tabletops were wiped spotless. Then, she strode toward the innermost room. She was really looking forward to seeing what this big bear's room would look like. She assumed it would be a total mess, the kind that was too embarrassing to show anyone. However, when she opened the door, she was completely surprised. Various books were neatly arranged on the bookshelf. The small tools on the desk were all uniformly placed in storage boxes. The most eye-catching thing was the large, 2-meter-long bed. Light blue sheets and blankets were spread across it, without a single wrinkle. Faintly, she could even smell a fresh scent. It was the scent of the big bear. Seeing this, Chen Molin got a little excited. She wanted nothing more than to dive onto the bed and roll around. But feeling the sticky sweat on her body, she decided to take a shower first. She'd roll around in the sheets properly after washing up. 20 minutes later, I was busy in the kitchen, having already whipped up 3 dishes. Just 2 more dishes and a soup to go. Just then, a soft voice rang out from the kitchen doorway. "Lu Ran, do you need any help?" I turned around to look. Whenever this girl used that tone, I always felt like nothing good was about to happen. Upon looking, my brows furrowed. I realized Chen Molin was actually wearing my clothes. At this moment, Chen Molin was wearing a super oversized short-sleeve t-shirt. Her perfect figure and proportions were completely hidden, and her long legs were reduced to just a bit of her calves showing. "I just wanted to help you out. If I wore my own clothes, it'd be such a hassle to wash them if they got dirty." Good grief. So if my clothes get dirty, they don't need washing. Seeing my reaction, Chen Molin explained that I had plenty of clothes, but she didn't bring any. So if hers got washed, she'd have nothing to change into. For a moment, I couldn't find a reason to argue. It actually made some sense. So I asked her to help me wash the vegetables. Chen Molin confidently agreed. But 1 minute later, a plate crashed to the floor, shattering into pieces. "I'm sorry. I squeezed too much dish soap." My hands slipped, and I couldn't hold onto the plate. My eyes widened instantly. "Senior, say that again. How exactly were you washing the cabbage?" "With dish soap, of course. I was scrubbing each cabbage leaf clean." "Stop. Do you have any idea that the main ingredients in dish soap are synthetic surfactants, sodium nitrate, foaming agents, thickeners, and preservatives? You're not here to help. You're here to commit murder." I just didn't know. You can at least wash dishes, right?" I pointed to some dirty bowls nearby that had been used for prep. "That's no problem. I'll be careful." But 1 minute later, another small bowl shattered on cue. I was completely speechless. I had no choice but to send her to sit on the living room sofa and wait obediently for dinner. Soon, waves of mouth-watering aromas wafted out from the kitchen, and right at that moment, the sound of keys turning in the lock suddenly came from the front door. Chen Molin's heart skipped a beat. Lu Ran's parents were back, half an hour earlier than Lu Ran had said, but she was still wearing my clothes. If they saw her like this, it would be incredibly awkward. She tried to run back to my room, but it was too late. "Oh, that familiar smell. Honey, smell that? Daran must be back." That boy, honestly. He didn't even tell us he was coming home. The two of them chatted as they walked through the door. The next moment, 6 eyes met. "Lin Cheng, did we walk into the wrong house?" My mom looked around in bewilderment as she spoke, but she checked the shoe cabinet, the living room TV, and the sofa. Nope, this was definitely their house. Seeing this, my dad also confirmed they hadn't gone to the wrong door. Then my mom asked in confusion, "Then, young lady, who are you?" Chen Molin's heart was pounding wildly in her chest. She was incredibly nervous. "Hello, Auntie." "Hello, Uncle. I'm..." She was just about to say she was my classmate, but her eyes darted around, and she immediately changed her tune. Duran brought me back. After the experience of not being misunderstood at the wet market, she decided to just let loose and see what happened. Sure enough, my parents froze for a second when they heard that. After carefully looking her up and down a couple of times, they both revealed a look of sudden realization. "I see. Have a seat, sweetie. Auntie will go pour you some tea." "Auntie, please don't go to any trouble. I'm not thirsty." "Don't be polite. Then just some plain water. Drinking plenty of water is good for you." After saying that, my mom turned and instructed my dad to pour the girl a glass of water while she went to check the kitchen. Hearing the commotion from the kitchen, I was just about to ask why Chen Molin was coming in to cause trouble again, but when I looked, it was actually my mom. Then, my mom slapped me hard on the back. How many times have I told you? Stop picking people up and bringing them home. That girl out there. Which bridge or river did you fish her out of this time? She's certainly pretty and clean looking. But what if her family is looking for her? My mom looked at me with exasperation. How many times had this happened? She had lost count. Anyway, over the past few years, her foolish son would occasionally bring trouble home. At first, it was just stray cats and dogs. Then it was blind or deaf people, drunk men or women. He even brought back someone covered in blood once. I stood there, looking completely dumbfounded. I had no idea how to explain this. Was I supposed to say I skipped class for no reason and eloped with my senior and that we were hiding from her parents? I wouldn't believe it if I didn't get beaten up for saying that. Then I suddenly thought of something. I finally explained. Chen Molin was originally a wealthy family's precious daughter, but a couple of days ago, her dad's company went bankrupt. Her mom was so furious she divorced him on the spot. Then neither of them wanted her. They threw a sum of money at her and vanished without a trace. That day, I saw her crying at the school gate from dawn till dusk. I was worried she might do something stupid, so I brought her back to help her calm down. As my mom listened to my story, the veins on her neck bulged with anger. She felt those parents were incredibly irresponsible and that Chen Molin was truly pitiful. I was just about to tell my mom that the pile of gifts at the door were the greeting gifts she bought for them and that they were all high-quality goods. Plus, that new black Mercedes downstairs was hers, so they could accept the gifts without worry, since she wasn't short on money. But the next second, I got slapped twice again. Except what? I thought you finally grew a conscience and bought those for me and your dad. Hurry up and cook. I'm going out. After saying that, my mom turned and hurried back to the living room. When my mom returned to the living room, Chen Molin was sitting in a corner of the sofa, carefully sipping a glass of hot water. Lin, is it okay if Auntie calls you that? Yes. Of course. My parents call me that too. She was taken aback by my mom's unusually gentle and affectionate gaze and tone. It was shocking. This was way better than the way her own mother spoke to her. Then my mom asked about the bags of gifts. Chen Molin politely explained that they were greeting gifts she had bought. Hearing this, my dad walked over and casually inspected them. This brand of lighter. Old Lee was just showing off his the other day. Said it cost $8,000. Seeing this, I suggested Chen Molin take them back and return them, saying they were unnecessary. Forget the gifts. From now on, you're welcome here anytime, but you are not allowed to bring a single thing next time. Uncle, Auntie, I already bought them. I definitely won't return them. Please, just accept them. Absolutely not. Sweetie, you should take them back for your parents to use. Hearing this, my mom immediately yelled at my dad, telling him to shut his mouth. Her parents just divorced and abandoned her, and here he was rubbing salt in the wound. My dad looked completely bewildered. Then, to change the subject, my mom verbally agreed to accept Chen Molin's gifts. After I finished cooking, the whole family sat together. Chen Molin expectantly picked up a piece of meat. Tender, sweet, and savory. It melted in her mouth. She was incredibly surprised that my cooking was so good. Watching this girl eat, her face full of pure bliss, my mom sighed inwardly. How cruel could her parents be? How could they bear to abandon such a beautiful and sensible daughter? Next time she'd have her brat of a son ask around if this girl truly had no one who wanted her, then their family would take her in. Just like that, dinner wrapped up in a fairly pleasant atmosphere. Afterward, I brought up taking Chen Molin to a nearby hotel to find a place to stay. But my mom was very unhappy to hear that. Why book a hotel? I was very confused, because our house only had 2 bedrooms. One for my parents, one for me. I couldn't exactly make her sleep in the living room, right? But my mom said, who said there's only one room? There's clearly a storage room too. After saying that, she narrowed her eyes and glared at me. Just 2 seconds later, I understood. I could only helplessly say that I'd go clean it out for her right away. You brat, you misunderstood. Misunderstood what? A guest is a guest. Have you ever heard of making a guest sleep in the storage room? I was instantly dumbfounded. For a moment, I couldn't figure out who the biological child was. Under my mom's uncompromising, authoritative gaze, I opened the storage room and silently started cleaning it out. Afterward, I went to the living room. I wanted to ask my mom where the extra mattresses and blankets were kept, but no one answered me. After walking around the house, I was dumbfounded to realize I was the only one left at home. Great. Those 3 just ditched me and went out for a walk. After setting up my floor bed for the night, I took a cool shower and lay down on it. Then I grabbed my phone, ready to play a few rounds of games to relax. But not long after, I heard footsteps and voices outside the door. Sounded like they were back. Then my mom pushed the door open, looked at me, and inspected the newly tidied storage room. She praised me for cleaning it up so well. But before I could even feel proud, my mom continued, "From now on, this room is yours." I froze. Before I could ask her what she meant, she just shut the door. Right at that moment, Chen Molin sent me a message, but I didn't reply and just kept focusing on my game. 2 minutes later, my door was quietly pushed open, and a beautiful figure sneaked in. Lu ran. "Are you playing games with someone?" The sudden female voice scared the crap out of me. As a result, I made a mistake and instantly lost the game. I asked Chen Molin in annoyance why she wasn't resting in her own room and what she was doing in mine. She had already changed back into her own clothes, and she sat right down on my floor bed. seeing you play so seriously. Are you teaming up with some cute girl? I explained that I was playing with my roommates. Hearing that, she finally looked satisfied. Then she asked me in confusion why my parents were treating her so well. Seeing this, I had no choice but to explain the lie I had told them. Chen Molin nodded after listening, showing no signs of disgust. Then she said something completely unexpected. Lu Ran, how about I sleep here with you tonight? I was speechless. The sheets and blankets in her room were brand new. Why would she insist on sleeping on the floor when she had a perfectly good bed? But Chen Molin just smiled and said she had never slept on a floor bed before, so she felt this one would be more comfortable. Saying that, she lay right down on the floor bed. Seeing this, I asked her again to confirm. Chen Molin smiled and said she wasn't joking. Then I told her, from now on, lie down properly on the bed. Huh. Now it was Chen Molin's turn to freeze. Recovering, she blinked. Then how should I lie down? What pose should I do? I told her to lie a bit straighter. Chen Molin bit her lip, hesitated for a second, and then did exactly as I said, lying down obediently. Her small face had flushed bright red at some point, but the very next second, she was completely rolled up in the floor bed. Her vision went pitch black. Lu Ran, put me down. What are you doing? I didn't say a word and walked straight to my original room. I placed the burrito-rolled Chen Molin onto the floor of the room and then grabbed the sheets and blankets from the bed. Before leaving, I told her, since you like the floor bed so much, you can sleep in it. With that, I shut the door, hurried back to my storage room, and locked the door behind me. Meanwhile, in my old room, Chen Molin angrily threw her phone onto the floor bed. You big bear. You stupid, hateful bear. Linlin, what's wrong? Did that brat bully you? My mom's concerned voice came from outside the door. Chen Molin took 2 deep breaths and explained that everything was fine. I was just messing around with him earlier. I'm getting ready for bed now. Then, Chen Molin lay back down on the floor bed. She didn't move back to the bed. She felt that sleeping on the floor once in a while was actually pretty novel. Plus, this was in the big bear's room. At 6:30 the next morning, I woke up on time, went downstairs, and started my 100-kilometer morning run. When Chen Molin woke up, she was called by my mom to eat breakfast. By the time I got home, my mom ordered me to take Chen Molin today to climb the local scenic spot, Mount Yunbai. She then stared at the two of us and added, when you guys reach the top, make sure you go pray at the temple up there. After that, I drove Chen Molin out. When we arrived at the foot of Mount Yunbai, Chen Molin was amazed by the towering peaks, reaching into the clouds. Then, we began our hike, but by the time we reached halfway up the mountain, Chen Molin couldn't hold on any longer. Left with no choice, I had to carry her on my back and climbed all the way to the top in one breath. By the time we reached the Yahello temple, it was already 1:30 p.m. Chen Molin grabbed me and dragged me straight toward the main temple. I was a bit confused. Who was she in such a rush to pray for marriage for? Hearing my question, Chen Molin glared at me fiercely and snapped that she was praying for herself. When we got to a small stall, Chen Molin asked about the prices of the red plaques and love locks. The stall owner replied, red plaques are 20 each. Love locks come in 2 types. The cheap ones are 25 each, and the expensive ones are 50 each. Hearing this, Chen Molin immediately asked for 2 red plaques and 10 expensive love locks. The owner's eyes widened in shock. I was also confused as to why she was buying so many. Chen Molin put on a proud, sundry face and declared, I just want to buy them. I have too much money to spend. That left me completely speechless. The little rich lady was wealthy and willful. There was nothing I could do. After Chen Molin paid with her phone, she handed one of the red plaques to me. These red plaques are used for blessings. I heard from the people nearby that the Yahello temple on Mount Yunbai is really accurate. You can carve your mom and dad's names on it and leave a blessing. So this climb wasn't for nothing. Hearing that, I thought it made sense. I thought about it for a moment, and then directly took both red plaques from Chen Molin's hands. Chen Molin looked surprised, but I just calmly said, it's a secret, and went off to the side to carve the words. Chen Molin was incredibly curious about what I was going to carve on the second plaque. Could it be her name? Then Chen Molin bought another red plaque, had the owner carve a line of text on the front, and then carve it again on the back. After we both hung up our red plaques, I was grabbed by Chen Molin and hurriedly dragged into the main hall of the Yahello temple. Meanwhile, a couple passing by the Yahello tree noticed something. Holy crap. Who did this? 10 love locks chained together. That's insane. Every single lock says, Lu Ran and Chen Molin will definitely be together. For all lifetimes. Forever and always. Never to part. Good lord, a 10-lock chain. 10 lifetimes. That's so badass. Hubby, I'm jealous. I want 10 locks too. At this moment, inside the Yahello temple, Chen Molin had no idea what was happening outside. After entering the temple, she knelt and bowed before every single deity statue she saw, sincerely praying for her own good marriage. I just stood to the side, scrolling through my phone out of sheer boredom. Then, Chen Molin pulled me, right in front of the main deity of the Yahello temple. Lu Ran, let's pray together. Getting a blessing right in front of Yahello is definitely more effective than the red plaques. And love locks outside, right? Hearing that, I figured she had a point. I had already written the red plaques, so what's the harm in bowing? But why did we have to pray to Yahello together? Couldn't we just do it one by one? Before I could figure out the answer to that question, Chen Molin forcefully pulled me onto the praying mat in front of Yahello. Thud. Chen Molin knelt down first, since we were already at this point. I also dropped to my knees with a thud. We both pressed our palms together, silently making our own wishes, and then bowed down. Except, I was thinking of my parents, while Chen Molin, aside from her parents, was also praying for our marriage. I bowed once and was about to get up, but beside me, Chen Molin went thump, 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 kowtowing 3 loud times. I stared in shock. This was way too devout. Seeing this, I curiously asked her if it hurt. Not at all. Besides praying for my parents, I was also praying for 2 other people. I wanted to ask who they were, but Chen Molin just gave me a mysterious look and said, "It's a secret." Then, Chen Molin took the incense she bought outside and walked over to the incense burner in front of Yahello. Just as she placed the incense into the burner and was about to bow, suddenly, a violent, deafening rumble echoed from above and all around us. The entire Yahello temple felt like it was shaking. Screams from the crowd outside pierced the air. Then a series of massive crashes followed one after another. The roof right above the Yahello statue collapsed with a thunderous boom, the tremors and the deafening noise. It all ended in a split second. The tourists who managed to escape from the temple, along with the people already outside, stared at the scene in absolute shock. At first, they thought it was an earthquake, but upon closer look, they realized it wasn't. It was the mountain slope behind the Yahello temple. A mudslide had occurred. A massive amount of rocks, mud and trees, washed down by the heavy rain, had all crashed down onto the temple. And then, the temple's roof, unable to withstand the immense force, had caved in. Fortunately, it only crushed the Yahello temple, the innermost building. The vast majority of people managed to escape at the last second. So far, there weren't many known casualties at the scene. Only a few unlucky tourists were hit or scraped by flying rocks and tiles, suffering minor injuries. Hurry! Call the police. Oh my god, how could this happen? If anyone got crushed under there, they'd be dead or critically injured. Wait, I think 2 people didn't make it out. It was a really tall, muscular guy, and a really pretty girl with him. This is bad. Did someone call the police? Let's quickly organize some people and see if we can dig them out. Chaos and frantic rescue efforts erupted outside the temple. Meanwhile, at the Lingnan Emergency Response Center, due to today's sudden heavy rain, several emergency situations had already popped up. A few firefighters who had just returned from the field were chatting and taking a quick breather. But before they could even warm their seats, one of the firefighters' walkie-talkies crackled to life. "Calling Captain Liao. Calling Captain Liao. Captain Liao, are you guys available right now?" The voice on the radio called out urgently. The firefighter known as Captain Liao immediately responded. He was then informed about the mudslide at the Yahello Temple on Mount Yunbai. He quickly rallied his team and rushed out for the rescue. At this moment, more than 3 meters beneath the collapsed ruins of the Yahello Temple, it was pitch black. You couldn't even see your own hand in front of your face. Suddenly, a beam of light lit up, illuminating a radius of a few meters. It was the glow from a phone screen. Chen Molin was lying on the debris-covered, muddy ground. However, on her body, aside from a little dust and some small pebbles, there was nothing else. The reason for this was that when the collapse happened, I had grabbed a roof beam to block the falling debris. "Lu Ran, are you okay?" "Don't worry, I'm fine. No need to call. The people outside definitely called for help already. Now we just have to wait for rescue." "Then how long will it take for them to get here?" "Given the terrain and the weather, it'll take a long time for rescue to arrive, and the search and rescue will take even longer." Then what do we do? I didn't answer her. Instead, I began to assess my own physical condition. Because the disaster happened so suddenly, a few of my ribs were broken. But with my astonishing healing abilities, they should recover on their own very soon. Once I healed up a bit, if we relied on the rescue team to dig us out, it would take at least 2 or 3 days. I could probably survive that long, but Chen Molin definitely wouldn't make it. Then, I told Chen Molin to turn off her phone, save some battery. Chen Molin quickly agreed and shut her phone off. As a result, the atmosphere instantly became awkward. "Senior. Lu Ran, you go first." "No, you go first." "Senior. Good thing you don't have bad breath." "Lu Ran, believe it or not, I'll bite you to death right now." Hearing her vicious threat, I chuckled softly. "What's so funny?" "Senior, you're much more normal like this. Just relax," I said in a low voice, because even though she didn't outright say she was scared, I could still feel it from her words and expressions. I sensed her anxiety. How could an ordinary person stay as calm as me when facing a situation like this? Meanwhile, outside the ruins, 30 minutes had passed since the collapse at the peak of Mount Yunbai. Thanks to the joint efforts of all the volunteers, 2 people trapped on the outer edges of the rubble had been rescued. Out of the 7 known victims, 2 had been successfully pulled out. The staff on site had already communicated with the Emergency Response Center multiple times. The rescue team had arrived at Mount Yunbai a while ago and was currently making their way to the summit. Just as everyone had expected, climbing Mount Yunbai in the pouring rain caused the difficulty to skyrocket. Even for highly trained professional rescuers, there was nothing they could do to speed it up. Another hour later, a private rescue squad rushed to the summit and arrived at the collapse site. They weren't carrying any heavy equipment. Clearly, they had rushed over at top speed, just to survey the scene first. Leading them was the firefighter captain from the Emergency Response Center, Captain Liao. After inspecting the mudslide and the collapsed buildings a few times, everyone's expressions turned grim. "Captain, what do you think?" "It's a mess. We have to wait for the backup team to bring up the infrared life detectors to pinpoint their exact locations before we can draft a rescue plan. Let's just hope no one is trapped right in the center of the collapse." That's the hardest spot to reach. Captain Liao looked at the ruined buildings, his face full of worry. A deep sense of unease filled his heart. But right at that moment, one of the team members received a call. He then looked at Captain Liao with a bizarre expression. The tourist center just called. The staff there said that 2 people are buried right in the middle. One of them is a really tall, fierce-looking guy. Could this guy be? Hearing this, Captain Liao's expression also instantly turned bizarre. Meanwhile, down below, I had just taken some bread and bottled water out of my backpack and shared some with Chen Molin. Suddenly, my phone rang. I was wondering how I still had a signal, only to see that it was a call from my emergency contact. I pressed answer and put it on speaker. Lu Ran, you brat. Where the hell are you right now? The moment the call connected, the person on the other end started yelling. Old Liao, since you're calling at this time, looks like you've reached the top of Mount Yunbai. I said helplessly. Holy shit, you really got buried under the Yuelao temple. Ha ha ha, Captain. I told you so. I knew it was him. Who would have thought our rescue hero would be the one needing a rescue this time? All right. Enough joking around. Tell me your situation down there. Don't worry. I'm fine on my end. About 15 meters southeast of my position, there are 2 trapped victims, a guy and a girl, both young. You guys go save them first. In the split second, the building collapsed. I had memorized the general layout of my surroundings. It was just my instinctive reaction when facing danger. What about you guys? Where is your exact location right now? Captain Liao asked. Right in front of the Yahello statue. Lu Ran replied. Hearing this, Captain Liao felt his stomach drop. The other rescue workers were also completely dumbfounded. They had assumed my position wouldn't be too bad, and that rescuing me wouldn't be too difficult, but they never expected me to pick the absolute worst spot, right in the middle of this entire collapse, the most difficult and dangerous place of all. Isn't the Yuelao statue at the very back of the temple? What the hell were you doing all the way in there? I came here with a friend. What a coincidence. Hitting up the Yuelao temple with a friend. Is this friend a girl? You actually guessed it. Damn, not bad. You've only been in college for a few days, and you've already snagged yourself a wife. Spit it out, when are you treating us to dinner? Listening to our conversation from the side, Chen Molin was so thrilled she could cry. Finally, someone misunderstood their relationship. Was it really that hard? Stop talking nonsense. Dinner is fine, but that's only after you guys dig me out. How long do you think it'll take? If this wasn't Mount Yunbai, I guarantee we'd have everyone out in 2 hours. But with all these extreme conditions piling up, I'm afraid it'll take until tomorrow morning at the earliest. Tomorrow morning? What if the rain doesn't stop? We'll do our best. All right, we've run enough rescue ops together. You guys hurry up and save the others first. I'm in no rush over here. Leaving me for last is fine. Don't worry. Even if you didn't say it, I'd still leave you for last. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. Stay safe. I'm hanging up now. Call me immediately if anything happens. Captain Liao quickly finished speaking and hung up the phone. I sat cross-legged and closed my eyes to rest and heal my injuries. By the next morning, the rescue team had just pulled out another 2 trapped victims. But before the rescuers and the crowd could even celebrate, the situation nearby suddenly took a drastic turn. With a deafening rumble, the ruined building collapsed once again. And the worst part was, the location of the secondary collapse was exactly right in front of the Yuelao statue. Crap. We're in huge trouble. Captain Liao cursed loudly and immediately dialed my number, but no one answered. Old Liao clenched his fists so hard his knuckles cracked. His eyes were bloodshot. He was clearly at a complete loss. He never expected a secondary collapse to happen. Captain Liao. Could Lu Ran be? Bullshit. Everyone gather around. We are initiating an emergency rescue operation right now. Immediately. Captain. But without heavy excavation equipment and proper scanners, relying just on our manpower. Won't that just make the situation even worse? Look at the time. Every second counts between life and death. If we wait for the rain to stop, so the helicopters can fly the gear in, it'll be too damn late. We have no other choice. Besides, they are the only 2 victims left down there. We don't need to worry about anything else. We just need to give it everything we've got and dig them out. Don't you guys forget who is buried under that rubble. The surrounding team members froze, as if suddenly waking up from a dream. That's right. The person down there was Lu Ran. If there's a flood, I can jump right in barehanded and fish people out. If there's a massive fire, I just douse myself with a basin of water and charge in to save them. Even in earthquake rescues, my solo efficiency rivals an entire rescue squad. A monster like that, how could he possibly be trapped by a little landslide? Let's keep trying to figure something out. Broly, we'll dig through from this side. Xiao Chen, you guys dig from over there. However, an hour later, the rescue team's progress wasn't as smooth as expected. Captain Liao was getting anxious too. He pulled out his walkie-talkie, planning to ask where the backup personnel were. But right at that moment, a figure from the direction of the foot of the mountain came charging straight toward them. At first glance, old Liao could tell that it was a woman. At second glance, this woman looked somewhat familiar. Huh? Isn't this person the captain of the Criminal Investigation Brigade from the Ningbai City Bureau? I think so. We had a joint operation with the police a year ago. I have a pretty deep impression of her. Who's in charge here? The woman asked loudly. I'm in charge, Captain G. Captain Liao braced himself and spoke up. Cut the crap and tell me, where are Lu Ran and the other trapped victim? Where are they? Where? The woman screamed until her voice went hoarse. The person who had rushed to the scene to demand answers was none other than G Malian. 3 days ago, after G Malian learned about the amusement park incident, she used her connections to gather all my background information. from childhood to adulthood, down to the smallest detail. She collected absolutely everything. She started reviewing it bit by bit, and as she read, G-Million's eyes never stopped widening. She stared in shock the entire time she read it. Before I was 14, I was completely ordinary, exactly like any other normal kid. But starting from the year I turned 14, my life has undergone an earth-shattering change. I started doing good deeds left and right, from small things like helping people find lost items, to big things like helping the police take down a criminal syndicate, like that human trafficking ring at the amusement park. And that time I caught the A-rank wanted criminal. He thought I was just getting lucky. But after reading my file, he realized this is literally just my daily routine. After reading it, his eyes went wide, unable to calm down for a long time. To think his own bratty daughter actually fell for a guy like this. Who knows if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but G-Million's impression of me had completely turned upside down. Because of this, over the next 2 days, she didn't deliberately track where Lu Ran and her daughter went. Her daughter is grown up now. She thought about it and felt she really had been too controlling of her. Letting her loose once in a while might actually be a good thing. However, the day before the Yunbai Mountain landslide incident, the city and branch bureaus held an emergency joint meeting. They were facing an extremely tricky emergency. An undercover cop planted in a criminal syndicate had a sudden accident. With only 1 week left until the net closed on the syndicate, to prevent 3 years of meticulous planning from going down the drain, the police desperately needed a replacement. The undercover only needed to stay undetected for 7 days for the mission to be a success, but they argued all day in the meeting without a single clue. Just when everyone was at their wits' end, G-Million stood up. I have a very suitable candidate. His abilities are absolutely on par with elite special forces. Facing everyone's doubts about his undercover vibe, G-Million was full of confidence. He's not with the police, so there's no risk of his identity being blown. As for the undercover vibe, I don't think anyone is more suited for it than him. G-Million kept them in suspense. Everyone had no choice but to agree to wait until she brought him in. The candidate she proposed was none other than me. Judging from his file, this college student's physical fitness has already reached the level of an elite special forces operative. As for his vibe, even without any training, if you just threw him straight into a criminal syndicate, he'd absolutely look more like a boss than the actual boss. G-Million quickly used cell phone signals to pinpoint that Chen Molin and I were hiding in Lingnan. Then, with a soft scoff, she prepared to move out. Just as she was about to drag Chen Molin and me back, she received news about Yunbai Mountain, the collapse of the matchmaker shrine. Upon hearing this, G-Million sped off as fast as she could, driving straight toward the peak of Yunbai Mountain in Lingnan City. She raced away. Let me ask you, what exactly is the situation with Lu Ran and the others right now? Captain Liao didn't know how to answer that either. He could only hurriedly pull out his walkie-talkie to ask the backup at the bottom of the mountain how much longer they'd be. But right at that moment, the collapsed ruins shifted. Several pieces of rubble in the center suddenly flew into the air. What the hell is going on? Then they crashed down randomly not far away. Following that, a few more chunks of debris were sent flying. Finally, with a massive boom, accompanied by a huge cloud of dust billowing from the center, a burly figure suddenly leaped several meters into the air. Then, amidst the smoke and dirt, he landed heavily on the ground. When the smoke cleared, Captain Liao and the others stared with wide eyes, because that figure was none other than me, carrying Chen Molin. G-Million rushed over excitedly and pulled her daughter straight into her arms. Yanyan, Mom knew you'd be okay. Mom will never force you to do anything again, I promise. Chen Molin was hugged tightly by her mother. Hearing her mom's words, tears welled up in her eyes, replacing her initial smile. Thinking back on the danger she just faced, if Lu Ran hadn't been there, with just her own strength, there was absolutely no way she could have escaped. Mom, it's my fault. I don't blame you. Meanwhile, on the other side, Captain Liao looked at Lu Ran in shock and uncertainty. Lu Ran, how did you get out? Old Liao still had a look of utter disbelief. Old Liao, a cave-in of this level. Did you really think it could trap me? I gave Captain Liao a bear hug. After feeling that powerful, crushing grip, Captain Liao finally accepted reality. Lu Ran is Lu Ran. His title as a monster really isn't just for show. On the other side, the mother and daughter had stopped crying. The affection in their eyes was obvious. It was countless times better than before. Seeing this, I was genuinely happy for them. But if that's the case, doesn't that mean the Great Escape side quest failed? I only got 3 days worth of rewards. With a thought, Lu Ran checked his side quest, but the next second, I was surprised to find the Great Escape side quest was actually still active. There was no failure notification. Didn't Chen Molin just get caught by her mom? Why didn't it say I failed? Did I misunderstand what getting caught meant? Or did I trigger something else? Lu Ran studied it for a few minutes, but still couldn't make heads or tails of it. Well, it's not a bad thing anyway. When Lu Ran walked over to Chen Molin, G-Million took a step forward first. Just when Lu Ran thought this domineering woman was going to settle the score with me, G-Million gave me a deep bow. Thank you, Lu Ran. You saved Linlin's life. This massive favor. We owe you. If it weren't for this kid's astonishing abilities, she probably would never have seen her daughter again. You're too polite, Auntie. It was just what I had to do. Lu Ran quickly took a step to the side, his eyes darting away slightly, eloping with Chen Molin, and now facing her mom. It just felt incredibly awkward. However, G-Million's next words really caught Lu Ran off guard. Lu Ran, could Auntie pay a visit to your house? My house? Why go to my house? You saved Linlin from under the rubble. Can't Auntie go over and properly thank you? At this moment, she was extremely polite to Lu Ran. If Lu Ran hadn't met this woman at the police station before, I would have thought I had the wrong person. Yeah, Lu Ran, my luggage is still at your place anyway. It's the perfect time to go back and grab it. When she was talking with her mom just now, she had already decided to head back to school in the next couple of days. For her right now, going to school was the best option. Hearing this, Lu Ran had no objections, just grabbing her luggage and leaving. At this time of day, we shouldn't run into my mom. I clearly remember all the nonsense. I spun in front of my mom. The three of them rested for a bit and started heading down the mountain. The mountain scenery was beautiful, but right now, all three had their own things on their minds. None of them were in the mood to appreciate the view. Lu Ran didn't walk fast. Earlier in the restroom, I stood in front of the mirror, and after checking my fractured ribs a few times, I successfully popped them back into place. Now I just need to avoid strenuous exercise. A few days of rest and I'll slowly recover. On the way down, Ji Melian and Chen Molin brought up taking me to the hospital several times. This little injury doesn't require a hospital at all. But the two women were relentless. They insisted I had to go. Left with no choice, after taking the cable car down the mountain, Ji Melian drove Lu Ran to the nearest hospital. After a thorough checkup, the hospital's results left Ji Melian utterly shocked. Lu Ran had 5 ribs fractured to varying degrees, yet miraculously, they had all been set back into place. Now it was just a matter of letting them heal naturally. Ji Melian glanced at Lu Ran, marveling inwardly at his monstrous physique. After the hospital trip, the next stop was my house. I originally thought at this hour, Mom and Dad definitely wouldn't be home, but when I unlocked the door with my key, I heard a voice coming from inside. Who is it? Ran and Linlin? It was my mom's voice. Lu Ran was genuinely startled. He didn't expect his mom to actually be home at this hour. In a bit, whatever you do, don't mention what happened under the rubble. I don't want my mom to worry. Lu Ran quickly whispered a warning to the two behind him. Don't worry, I definitely won't, Chen Molin said with a smile. I understand. As a mother, she naturally knows how awful that feeling is. Mom, it's us. Lu Ran called back into the house. Soon my mom walked over. The light makeup on her face looked freshly applied. You guys came back at the perfect time. A few minutes later and I would have been gone. Have you eaten yet? If not, I'll make you something. Lu's mom walked out, stopping mid-sentence, when she noticed an extra woman in the house. You are. Hello. I'm Linlin's mother. Linlin has been staying at your place these past 2 days. Sorry for the trouble. When Lu's mom heard this woman was Yang Yan's mother, her expression became extremely unnatural. So this is that irresponsible mother who got divorced and abandoned Yang Yan. Why is she here? She looked the woman up and down. Is she regretting it now and trying to get Yang Yan back? Where was she before? A young girl barely 20 years old. How can she withstand this kind of psychological torment from you people? Lu's mom's eyes narrowed, and an idea formed in her mind. She was going to test Yang Yan's mother. If her answers weren't up to par, she absolutely wouldn't let her take the girl, no matter what. Little Yang Yan was already pitiful enough. She really couldn't bear to see her repeat the same mistakes. Plus, this girl was the first one in all these years to actually have feelings for her son. That meant she definitely couldn't let her go easily. Oh, so you're Linlin's mother. Linlin is doing just fine staying here. She can stay for a few more days, months, or even years. It's no problem. I don't find it troublesome at all. Lu's mom had a smile on her face, but her eyes were piercingly sharp. Seeing his mom's aggressive stance, Lu Ran couldn't help but facepalm and quickly look away. I'm doomed. Lying really isn't a good idea. Mom definitely bought into that tragic, miserable campus belle story from a couple of days ago. Now the main character is here. What? What do I do now? On the other side, Ji Melian was completely baffled. Why was Lu Ran's mom so hostile toward her? They were clearly meeting for the first time. They didn't know each other at all. Lu Ran's mom? Is there some kind of misunderstanding between us? Misunderstanding? How could we have a misunderstanding? So, may I ask what you're here for? She even gave Chen Molin a comforting look. That look seemed to say, Auntie's got your back. Chen Molin blinked, her face full of confusion. Beside her, the smile on Ji Melian's face stiffened. And she calls this no misunderstanding? Lu Ran's mom was looking at her like she was guarding against a predator. She subtly shot a glance at her own daughter, only to see her daughter winking and making faces at Lu Ran's mom. Humph. It's 80% likely this brat's doing. Who knows? What she said about her to Lu Ran's mom. Lu Ran's mom. I came this time just to take Yang Yan back to school. This child is too mischievous. A young lady like her only knows how to play around. Ji Melian said with a tight smile. Yang Yan's mom, a child's studies are important, of course, but their mental health is equally important. Lu's mom's tone was serious as she spoke earnestly. Ji Melian froze for a moment, then nodded heavily. I understand. It really is my fault for not taking better care of Yang Yan's feelings before. After we go back this time, I'll communicate with her properly. Lu's mom and Chen's mom just started chatting like that. This left Lu Ran and Chen Molin dumbfounded. Is this still the Captain Ji he knew? Is this still the mom he knew? 10 minutes later, the two moms had pretty much finished chatting. They were much more polite to each other now. At this time, Chen Molin also came out of Lu Ran's room. Having packed up her luggage, Lu Ran was quite satisfied with this, finally sending this girl off. Now I can rest in peace for a few days. Just as Lu Ran was about to head back to his room for a good sleep, my mom suddenly grabbed me. You brat, where do you think you're going? Lu's mom stared at Lu Ran suspiciously and asked, I'm going back to sleep. I barely slept last night. I'm dead tired. Saying this, Lu Ran even let out a yawn. Hearing this, Lu's mom slapped a heavy hand onto Lu Ran's back. Sleep. What sleep? Hurry up, pack your things, and get back to school. Mom, why would I go back to school? I already asked for a few days off. Lu Ran looked completely confused. Time off? Why do you need time off? Military training right now is a crucial time for building friendly relationships with your classmates. Making more friends won't hurt you. Lu's mom found an excuse to say, but what she was actually thinking was, Yan Yan is going back to school, so what are you doing staying at home? You're not properly seizing the chance with such a great girl, and you're thinking about sleeping? Lu's mom absolutely did not want to see him in the house right now. Yan Yan's emotions are still unstable. If you go back to school, you two can look out for each other. Lu's mom dragged Lu Ran back to pack his things. Lu Ran's face was full of helplessness. Chen Molin's face was full of secret delight. She thought she wouldn't be able to see Lu Ran for days. Now it looks like they can see each other every day again. Lu's mom walked all three of them to the door. You brat, make sure you take good care of Yan Yan at school. Don't let anyone bully her. Lu's mom nagged a bunch of instructions into Lu Ran's ear. Lu Ran was already used to this scene. Every time he went far from home, his mom would be like this. After the mother and son finished talking, Lu's mom walked over to Chen Molin's side and whispered a few words to her. The two of them chatted and beamed with joy, like they were family. This gave both Lu Ran and Ji Melian the illusion that those two were the real mother and daughter. The three of them got into the car. Lu Ran was pulled into the backseat by Ji Melian and Chen Molin. The excuse was, "You're injured. Why would you drive?" Chen Molin was only halfway through getting her driver's license, so the task of driving back to Ningbai City fell to Ji Melian. Under her mom's intense stare, Chen Molin reluctantly chose to sit in the passenger seat. They didn't get on the highway right away. Instead, they drove to a nearby shopping mall. Ji Melian bought the two of them matching phones, one black, one white. Lu Ran and Chen Molin's original phones had gotten waterlogged. They probably couldn't be fixed. Suddenly, a WeChat friend request popped up. Chen requests to add you as a friend. Lu Ran in the back seat looked up at the passenger seat. Chen Molin waved the phone in her hand at me. Obviously, this was the friend request she sent. Lu Ran hesitated for 2 seconds before tapping accept. We've already met the parents, and you actually hesitated this long just to add me on WeChat. Looking at the message that was sent instantly, Lu Ran smiled helplessly. I rarely use WeChat. Not used to it is way too half-hearted of an excuse. But whatever. Does your wound still hurt? No, it's just a minor injury. It doesn't affect me at all. It'll be fine in a few days. You make it sound so easy. How about I stew some chicken soup for you tomorrow and bring it to the camp? Don't waste your time. Besides, can you even stew chicken soup in your dorm? You don't get it, do you? A junior is just a junior. Please, absolutely do not bring it over. I don't want to be hated by all the freshmen. Just those 2 cups of milk tea you brought last time already made a lot of people hold a grudge against me. After sending this message, Chen Molin didn't reply immediately. 2 minutes later, Lu Ran, have you checked the school forum these past 2 days? Chen Molin turned her head from the passenger seat and asked. Lu Ran looked at her in confusion. I've been inseparable from her these past 2 days. Wouldn't you know if I checked the forum or not? I haven't. After saying that, Lu Ran opened the school forum page. The story behind freshman Lu Ran. The truth about Lu Ran being taken away by the police. Lu Ran casually clicked on a few trending threads and was amused by the novel-like content inside. He started reading them with great interest. Mom, those people who frame others on the forum and spread blind rumors, can they be caught and severely punished? Chen Molin asked her mom, who was driving. If it hasn't caused a serious impact or generated a lot of heat, basically they can't be caught. At most, it's just a verbal warning, Ji Melian said. Chen Molin was a bit disappointed hearing this answer. The big bear was clearly doing good deeds, yet he's being framed by these people. Lu Ran, should we contact the forum admins and have them delete these threads? Delete them? Why delete them? The innocent have nothing to hide. If you delete them, the people who are suspicious will only get more suspicious. Once the hype passes, it'll naturally die down. Lu Ran said calmly. After reading several threads in a row, not a single person had guessed even a fraction of the truth. All right, I'll handle this matter. After all, it was our police colleagues who lacked consideration. They shouldn't have called Lu Ran over in front of so many people. Ji Melian spoke up at this moment. Chen Molin finally felt relieved. Ji Melian suddenly thought of something else. Lu Ran, are you very familiar with the stock market? Not really. Why ask so suddenly? Hearing this, Lu Ran instantly perked up. Could it be that my recent abnormal stock market cash flow has been noticed by someone? Suddenly, Chen Molin interrupted the chat, saying urgently, Mom, the bathroom. I really need to use the bathroom. Ji Melian cast a sideways glance at her daughter, checked the GPS, and said, there's still a few kilometers left. Hold it. Then Mom, drive a little faster, Chen Molin said. Ji Melian shot her daughter a speechless look, stepped hard on the gas pedal, and the whole car surged forward. Seeing that the topic had been successfully changed, Chen Molin let out a long sigh of relief. It seems the fact that Lu Ran told her about the stock market trends was found out by her mom. Dad must have snitched. So mean. I'm not telling Dad next time. The person who knows about this is Sissy Young Master, not her in real life. So if Lu Ran noticed something was off, that identity of hers would be exposed. How could she let that happen? Her spy alt account had to stay hidden until the very end. 2 minutes later, the car parked at a rest area. Mom, are you going to the bathroom? Chen Mullen turned her head and asked, I'll go. Ji Melian picked up her phone, seemingly checking some work files. Big Lu ran, let's go to the bathroom together. It's still 2 hours until we reach Ningbei University. Chen Mullen blinked at Lu Ran and said, I don't want to go. Lu Ran replied bluntly. Chen Mullen froze for a second. You want to? She blinked even more obviously. I really don't want to. You really want to? Lu Ran frowned and looked over. Wouldn't he know if he wanted to use the bathroom or not? He saw Chen Mullen baring her little canine teeth, mouthing the words, get out to him. Lu Ran remained unmoved, just quietly watching her perform. Seeing this, Chen Mullen gritted her teeth. She carefully glanced at her mom again, then switched her expression to that of a pitiful, begging kitten. Let's go together, please. Lu Ran got goosebumps from that little look. He still chose to get out of the car. Otherwise, who knows what this girl would do? The two of them got out of the car together. Just as they walked into the rest area mall, Chen Mullen grabbed Lu Ran's hand. This made Lu Ran feel a bit awkward. You know Officer G is still right at the door, right? What if we get caught? Just relax. My mom gets super focused when she's working. She won't come over here, Chen Mullen said with a smile. As long as you don't feel like you're losing out. Lu Ran had no objection. After surviving the landslide incident, he was already getting used to this level of intimacy between them. Besides, holding Chen Mullen's little hand actually felt pretty nice. Hee, I'm definitely not losing out. Then we have to see each other every day and hold hands at least once. That's not too much to ask, right? Chen Mullen leaned in even closer. Lu Ran shook his head, speechless. This girl really knows how to push her luck. Silence means yes. All right, I'm gonna go to the restroom first. After saying that, Chen Mullen jogged into the nearby restroom. Lu Ren decided to go use the restroom as well. After he washed and dried his hands and walked out, a beautiful figure suddenly leaped up and clung right onto him. The people nearby all turned to look, though they only dared to steal a quick glance. With so many people watching, you really just went for the hug, huh? Lu Ren said helplessly. If I didn't, I wouldn't get another chance once we head back today.